Ladies and gentlemen, we are back almost for the last time, for the last regular time. This is it. It's another episode of Reliving the Lights, Friday Night Lights Rewatch podcast. My name is Josh Kuipers.
My name is Anthony Hookman.
And we have been your guides for 75-ish episodes, 2 years of Friday Night Lights, and it's all coming to a close. This is it. Anthony, my first question for you tonight is, did you cry?
I did not.
I was very close. I could have, if I, would have let it happen. The other thing I could have, and also my kids were down in the same room with me and they were being kind of obnoxious. So that was kind of keeping me from fully engaging in the moments towards the end of the episode. But yeah, we're here. We've done it. So we're going to talk about one last episode. And then the plan is after that, we'll do another kind of wrap up podcast episode where we take a bird's eye view at the whole thing and go over some stats and some memories,
Nice.
both show and podcast related. So before we get into it, Anthony, what should be our final ice-breaking conversation here?
That's
have
a
we
good
been up
question.
to?
Well, so I was just digging in my phone. So on my time hop, it must have been yesterday because it was not today. There was a photo that came up that was it was actually the back piece of one of my tearaway calendars. It was like notes about what our awards would be.
Oh yeah.
But it was like 2 years ago. What must have been yesterday. So we've been doing this. Yeah, it's just thinking we've been doing this for 2 years. What happened to that photo?
What's the deal with this photo?
It's May. That would have been 2020. Why can't I find that picture? Where did it disappear to? But it was in red ink. I vividly remember seeing it. Did I accidentally go and delete it while I was looking at it or something? Why didn't I send it to you?
That's a mistake.
That was a mistake.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see what the ideas were.
But like Julie Taylor, and it was like Julie Taylor ? Like we didn't have a name for it. It was like Coach Inspiration.
Uh-huh.
There it is. Why didn't it show? Oh my God,
Weird.
Apple! I swear to God. But yeah, we've got quote of the episode, then just Julie Taylor, Coach Taylor Inspiration, Buddy Garrity Sleazeball, and Riggins Beer Tally are what we've got on this.
Oh yeah, the originals. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Some scratches out up here and down here.
Yep.
Well,
there you go. There's the humble beginnings.
Yeah, I think just I mean, it's crazy to think that so we probably recorded the first episode somewhere in the neighborhood of exactly 2 years ago, and probably the final episode for sure will be recorded more than 2 years after. So this is just this has been a good 2 years.
Yeah. When I was finishing up the show tonight, I was both feeling Friday Night Lights emotions and Reliving the Lights emotions.
Yes.
I was like, oh my gosh, this is like a 2-year thing. That is like, and that last season, we've talked about it before. I just haven't seen nearly as many times as literally all the other ones. And so, yeah, it was almost like first time emotions and also, Reliving the Lights emotions. And it was just.
We got past the opening credits, and Angie was like, do you remember what happens? And I was like, I don't remember anything related to what has already shown on screen at all. So I was like, nope, I've got a vague idea of like a couple of things, but nope, I did not remember a lot of this.
Yeah, we'll obviously get to it, but when on the last play of the game, when the ball's up in the air, I was like legitimately like, God, I hope he catches it. God, I hope this is a touchdown. Like, please don't let this be a disappointing ending. Like, I was feeling those like legitimate nerves and emotions as it was happening. And then what happened. I was like, oh yeah, I totally remember that now. But anyway, here we go. Last episode. Before we get into it, man, I got to know what you're cracking for the final series finale episode.
I feel almost sacrilegious not having a grain belt. I might have to just crack one out of ceremony, but I do have just another classic, another standby, the rum and Diet Coke.
Absolutely. Very nice. What's your glass there?
I think this is a Jim's Tap glass. Yes, Jim's Tap.
Jim's Tap. Another glass.
Jim's Tap of Brookings. And I've got my backup, the Monster Club of Omaha.
Very nice. I made myself a little margarita tonight. Had some margarita mix, and so I got that first, and then I did do this intentionally because it's a classic. I've got a mixing bowl full of various beers, and I have some Bloody Mary mix, so I can do a Kuiper special somewhere this evening. So
I'm gonna quick step away. I gotta get a grain belt.
You better do it. You better do it.
I gotta say, Josh, I freaked out there for a second because I knew we had some grain belts sitting out that weren't in the fridge yet, but I had some grain belt shandies, which would have been close, but not. But I found the one primo that was left in my fridge. So
it's fate. Ooh,
there it is.
It's a good sound.
Oh,
it's excited for this episode too. Coming at you. All right. Well, that's what we're drinking. Never did get that grain belt sponsorship, but
maybe for the OC.
All right, let's get into it. This episode is 513. It is entitled Always. It originally aired February 9th of 2011. It was rated TV 14, and according to IMDb, it was 1 hour and 1 minute long. That is not the version I watched, and doesn't sound like the version you watched either.
I wonder if that got messed up because 101. Because so in the trivia, we were discussing this before we started recording. The trivia says the two versions of the episode, the original 101 minute version and an edited down 45-minute version. I'm guessing that they meant an hour and one minute.
Yeah,
but somebody thought that time was in
the metric system.
Yes, the metric system. Yeah.
Anthony talked about this a little bit beforehand. It seems that I, having watched the episode on Netflix tonight, saw the 45-minute version, and Anthony, who watched on DVD, I assume, must have got the 61-minute version. Yep. So we'll see what that does to our.
We might have a few. Hold on, back up. We got this scene. Oh, you didn't see that one?
Yep, we'll just assume that if I missed something, it's because I literally did not see it. So
if you really like those 6 deleted scenes, we probably won't have much of a discussion about them because
sorry. That is disappointing. If I would have known that, I totally would have watched the DVD version because I have that as well. But convenience won the day and went with Netflix. But regardless, let's see whether Haven Iron Oak based his synopsis on the 61-minute or the 45-minute version. What does he have to say?
With the decision to close the East Dillon football program, speculation runs wild wow, there is no punctuation there at all. Let me try that again.
All right.
With the decision to close the East Dillon football program, speculation runs wild on 2 fronts. Will the Lions be able to win state and go out in a blaze of glory? And will Coach Taylor agree to return to coach on the Dillion Panthers and a super team with the best of both schools? Tami's PA job offer adds conflict in the Taylor home, as does a new development with Matt and Julie. Meanwhile, Tim Riggins and Tyra talk seriously about their futures, and Luke and Becky clear the air.
Okay, definitely lacking in punctuation and has an iconic moment of punctuation in here that I'm very glad is in there for the final episode. Will the Lions be able to win state and go out in a blaze of glory? Semicolon. And will Coach Taylor agree to return to coach the Dillion Panthers and a super team with the best of both schools? I do not think that this is a correct usage of a semicolon.
I am going to go ahead and probably, agree with you. Yes, that's not. Yeah, no.
Yep. So it's only appropriate that in the final episode, we still do not have proper usage of semicolons in the synopses. Yeah, could have used a few. Used a few commas in here, but other than that, I think Haven Iron Oak gets the job done. So,
yeah.
Thank you, Haven Iron Oak, for your service. You were a disappointment, but
yeah,
there's not much you could do about that.
We're glad we only had you for 26 episodes.
Yes.
You really, I mean, listen, Movie Dude 1 was a tough act to follow. So
it's probably good for you, Haven Iron Oak, that you're not as completely deranged and unhinged as Movie Dude.
Your mental health is probably in a better place, presumably.
So good for you. How's the mental health of Movie Dude 2?
So Angie and I just wrote this on our way back from Brookings, on our drive down to Brookings earlier today. We were kind of trying to find the theme, and I decided to get real deranged with it. This is also a spoiler heavy synopsis, but presumably if you're listening to this, you've watched the episode. So
yep.
Here we go.
Okay.
It's the end of an era as the Lions play their final game at State, while Matt states his intentions to marry Julie.
Oh, my Lord.
Meanwhile, Julie's parents mull over the idea of moving to a new state as Tim decides that maybe Alaska isn't the state for him after all. Jess learns that she may be moving across the state while Becky is in a new state of mind when her mom moves home. And Luke makes an off-screen decision to become a defender of the state.
Oh, my Lord. Oh, I'm bowing down. That's incredible. That's like 5 different versions of the definitions of the word state.
Once I got to 3, I was like, this is it. I've got it.
Oh my gosh. Good for you. Wow. I know we don't rate Movie Dude 2 synopses, but that's a 10. You got a 10.
Thank you.
Just imagine that I sent you the GIF.
I'm picturing Kobe Bryant.
Perfect. All right. Well, I'm feeling good about this episode now. Let's get into the details. It's Christmas time in Dillon. Yes. We kind of see a montage of Christmassy things happening. We see the outside of the landing strip, and I'm not sure we've ever seen the outside of the landing strip before, have we? It didn't look like that if we have.
You know, now that you say it, we have, because we got the scene of Billy and Tim like fighting in the parking lot, but I don't think we've ever gotten like a shot of the exterior specifically.
See, to me,
we have been outside of the landing strip before, but not from that angle.
The exterior, yeah. It almost looked to me like a freaking Holiday Inn drive up, like right. Hotels you can that, it almost looked like that to me. I don't know, not what I expected it to look like. And I have seen pictures of the actual landing strip in Austin, Texas, and it does not look like that. So
must have been just a hotel shot that they CGI'd in the sign.
Yep.
We're gonna blow this one wide open too, folks, just like the just like the Dairy Queen Alamo freeze.
My wife was, and she said this would not stop her from going to Austin again, but she was like 5 minutes away from pulling the trigger on taking a friend trip with her best friend to Austin, and I was like, "Are you serious right now? Like, you can't go without me to that."
What the hell?
But she said she'd go back because the things that we would do would be far different than what she and her friend would do. But they end up going. They're going to go to Savannah, Georgia. So,
nice.
I doubt that they would have stopped at the landing strip to buy T-shirts for all their previous podcast guests, like I plan on doing when I go to Austin.
Speaking of friend trips, sometime in the future, not even next time, just at a time, I just want to put this bug in your ear. I would like to join you on a trip to Memphis at some point.
Oh, bro. Anytime you want to go, man, let's go. That's my favorite place in the world.
I know. No, I've been thinking we were so me and some friends the weekend before the wedding reception, were going to make a trip to Kentucky.
Oh, yeah.
Like a whiskey trip, but it didn't end up working out, unfortunately. and I've been really getting into crossing the states off. And I was like, you know what? That's right by Tennessee.
Yeah.
I was like, I gotta go with Josh sometime to Memphis. So
yeah.
And I know that Memphis is right on the border to Arkansas too, and I could cross that one off.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like it's literally on the border. Right you there, got West Memphis in Arkansas, and then Memphis proper. Yeah, we'd do that. We could zip over to Nashville too. It's like 4 hours, but if you're 4 hours from Nashville, you should probably go to Nashville. Right.
Right.
Listen, let's do it.
Let's do it.
That does not take much convincing for me.
I figured it wouldn't, but
yeah.
Especially now that my guy plays for the Grizzlies. It's been on my mind.
on 2K22.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nice. We find out it's 5 days from state. Correct. Yes. So it's like the week of state. The Lions are getting interviewed for TV, and the TV interviewers seem to be kind of stuck on one or two specific topics here.
Yep. They're all talking about the merger next year. They're talking about coach, being potentially who's going to be the coach of the super team. The team players don't really want to talk about the merger. Tinker calls one of the reporters a straight up jackass.
Yeah. Throws over the chair and walks off. Yeah.
Billy thinks that he has a shot at the head coaching position.
Did he really?
Yeah.
I remember Billy saying something and I didn't understand what he was saying, but okay.
Yeah, Billy there was some interview where it was like, oh, do you know who's going to be the coach next year? He's like, I think I got a shot at it. Oh, and they asked Coach Stan as well, and he's like, oh, I don't really like the spotlight.
Oh, wow. Who would be a bigger disaster as the head coach of the Panthers? Coach Stan or Coach Billy Riggins?
I think I got to say Coach Stan, I think would be a bigger disaster.
I think so too. Because I think Billy overall he would take it. Stan would take it extremely seriously. What's your reasoning?
I think Coach Stan is all enthusiasm, no anything else.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Billy is like 75% enthusiasm, 25% football knowledge.
Yeah, sure.
And he has, Tim as his brother to be a like kind of guiding hand.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
He's got some ins, I think, that Coach Stan does not have.
Yes. Either one, though, I don't anticipate would last longer than a year in that job. So
no way.
They asked Coach directly about the job offer, and Coach doesn't give a comment on that. So next, as far as I know, I'm just going to keep trucking, and you can say, actually, if anything comes up, yes, that I didn't have in my version. But next, I saw Coach and Tami decorating the Christmas tree, and they're arguing about it, about the job situation. I don't know if we knew prior to this that they had offered Coach a 5-year contract.
No, we only saw at the end of last episode them coming in to talk to him about it. So this is us learning, exactly how big the deal is that he has been offered.
Yeah. 5 years. Yeah, that is pretty crazy. Like, because I assume it's like an NBA coach where if you sign on for 5 years and they can you after year one, you still get paid for 5 years. So
I don't know if Texas high school football coach contracts are guaranteed or not, but
I don't know. But so they're kind of going back and forth about that. This is obviously not a situation that has been resolved in the slightest. And the doorbell rings. They go to the door. It's Matt Saracen. Oh, Maddie's at the door.
He turns in a all-time Goofus Maloofus.
He was Goofus
performance right here.
Max. This entire episode, he was Goofus.
But I think especially here.
So he and Julie go to the Alamo Freeze together. He gets real Goofus Maloofus with this too.
Yeah, that's true. This is pretty.
He kind of says, ever since you came to Chicago, like you're all I've been thinking about. I've been thinking about us. I know that I love you and I know that I want to be with you forever. And he proposes to her on the spot with grandma's ring. And I got to say, at this point, my hopes got way up. They got way up because I thought maybe grandma died. I was like, is grandma dead?
No.
I seriously thought, like, did grandma die? Did I miss this? Why does he have her wedding ring? Wouldn't she want to keep her wedding ring? She thinks her husband's still alive, for God's sake. So, but no, he proposes with grandma's ring. Julie says yes. At this point, I literally have in my notes, what the hell?
I did love, honestly, of all the camera work in this show, this is probably my favorite shot of the season.
Oh, yeah?
Maybe not of the entire series. How so he's like outside of the Alamo Freeze as he does this, and we get a shot from like inside where we can see there's like customers.
Yeah.
That was real. I liked that a lot. I thought
good.
that was very telling. Or I think it told a story of its own that like,
yeah,
maybe even Matt doesn't realize that people can see what he's doing. But like,
yeah,
people are presumably, it's a small town. People are presumably, very, very involved with this, with what's going on outside of the Alamo Freeze.
Man. And I don't know, how goofus maloofus is it just to like propose right outside of the Alamo Freeze? Like, just, I don't know, no build up or anything, but, Julie says yes. Julie's like, oh man, my dad must have flipped when you talked to him about this. And Matt's like, oh shucks, I thought that was just an old wives' tale.
Old wives' tale.
So Matt didn't talk to Coach about it, which, I understand to a certain extent, but at the same time, it's freaking Coach. Like, you gotta, expecting that.
Yeah, I think, it's just another situation of picking your spots. I think, this is one of those traditions that not necessarily everybody has to, take part in. I'm not that traditionalist, but, I did it.
Did you? I was I was wondering. Yeah. I don't even know if I know, like, was there a proposal story for you guys? I don't think I've ever heard that.
Not really. It was mostly us like sitting around in our apartment being like, Angie wanted to get married on January 6th because it's our anniversary. And it was basically like this year or next year because it's like
we're coming July. Up on it.
It's like July right now. So we should probably, like, if it's this year, we got to make a decision.
Well, I'll never forget your anniversary date. That's for sure.
We're taking it back.
Yeah, taking it back. Yeah. So, and you asked her dad for permission then?
Yes, I think I have told you this story before. Angie got me drunk and talked me into calling her dad and asking for his permission.
That's right.
Which kind of kicked off the whole thing. That was like 3 months before we decided to actually get married. Because after that, like, Angie's mom was like, I'm looking into picking out dresses for the wedding. And so it's kind of like, I guess we better act fast here.
Yeah, nice. But Matt did not do that. Bad idea. So in my version, and I'm assuming this is different, in my version, they saved time by not doing a full title sequence here. It just like the screen went like black and then Friday Night Lights like came up on the screen and then it faded out and then they went on with the show.
Yeah, we got a full credit sequence. Yeah.
All right. So that's like 45 seconds of difference right there.
Mm-hmm. We have got following the credits, we've got Tim and Billy. Tim is working on his truck while Billy's just kind of standing by. Tim mentions that he may or may not be going to Alaska.
Yes.
Billy asks, is that because you raw dogged Tyra the other night?
Jeez Louise. Was this on DirecTV?
Yeah.
Well, I guess it was both versions. So
yeah,
I don't know. I feel like that's a little risque for
for network TV for
NBC. Sure. Because you raw dogged Tyra last night. Mandy thinks that that's incest now.
Yeah, she's very off put by Tim and Tyra's rekindled flame, even though I'm pretty sure he and Tyra were dating before Billy and Mindy were. Yeah, weren't they?
Yeah, for sure. But I guess it's now that Tim feels Mindy. Like family and Tyra is also family. So But the Tim and Billy both push back on that logic. Like, no, it's not blood. Like,
right. Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah. I think it's Angie's dad, his brother married her mom's sister. So they've got some like double cousin stuff going on.
Absolutely.
I think we've got some double cousins somewhere along maybe not on my bloodline, but somewhere like in the family tree.
It happens.
It's very normal.
Yeah, for sure. So, they push back on that logic and they make a good case. So, Tim offers to keep Stewie for the day, and Mandy says yes on that. She's like, "All right, you can't take that back." Like, so, I'm not really sure why Tim did this. I guess it was just to put the plot forward of taking him to the Colette's house. Otherwise, I don't see why this would happen, but I guess that just got him over to Stewie's grandma's house. So where Tyra is. But anyway.
If the IMDb trivia is correct, the next two scenes were not seen by you, but were seen by me.
Okay. Well, you better take the lead here then.
We get a scene of Vince talking to his mom at work. He shows up while she's working, delivers some food. He asks about Pa Howard, and she kind of downplays it. He kind of like expresses, how he wants Pa Howard to be at the game. And she kind of is like, how he is. I don't want to talk about it, whatever. So there's that. And then we get a scene. I can't believe they cut this.
How did they? I'm looking at it now, and I'm pissed that it's cut. Go on.
Yeah. We get a great fake out scene where it's just a static shot of Matt doing his proposal speech, and you think he's doing it to Coach, but it turns out that he's doing it to Landry. So,
oh my god.
And then Landry I didn't take very good notes on this, but Landry gives him some pretty bad advice on the going through with the asking of Coach's permission.
So Jesse Plemons got cut from the finale.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, I can understand that it's not like integral to the plot, but still,
that's still
get Landry. As much as we hate Landry, get Landry in the finale. Come on.
Yeah.
That's disappointing.
Yeah.
Does it say anything on why there are two versions? Was it just like,
I'm assuming it's because the DirecTV probably had full reign to do whatever they wanted.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that
NBC
to get it on NBC, they had to cut it to.
That's a shame. Show gets no respect. Got no respect. It gets a little respect now, but
yeah. What I'm more surprised about is that that streaming services don't have the full version.
Yeah, why would you not?
That seems weird.
Yeah, that is weird. Obviously, that's they have no time constraints whatsoever.
Yeah,
so strange. Maybe I'll need to
the long cut.
I know I do. Maybe I need to write a strongly worded email to Netflix. I'm sure they'll take note.
They'll listen for sure. Yeah. They're losing subscribers. So
that's true.
If you want to keep me, please install the full version of the Friday Night Lights finale.
Dude, I'm going to watch the last season of, or not maybe it's the new season of Stranger Things came out, and I'm going to watch that, and I'm going to cancel the shit out of that Netflix. Because why else would I have Netflix?
I think you should leave.
I'll resubscribe when that comes around. And I'll keep it for a week. Well, I suppose I'll have to pay for a month, binge that. And that's true.
I've never been one to jump in and out of streaming services. Usually I either like keep them forever. I've had Netflix since 2006.
Wow.
With like completely uninterrupted since 2006.
Do you get grandfathered into an incredible plan then?
Nope. Sure don't.
It changed. Yeah. They probably gave you like a year's notice, but it's still.
Right. Well, because actually, in 2006, it was just DVD by mail.
Mm-hmm. I had that. I remember when they added streaming. Yeah.
And then it was DVD by mail and streaming at no extra cost.
Mm-hmm.
And then it became two different plans. No, because now it's like $20 for a regular plan in 4K. And I'm like, I've got a nice 4K TV now. And I'm like, hell no, I'm not going to every other streaming service. Paramount Plus is actually getting it together, and they have a
Yeah.
lot of shit in there in 4K for no extra charge.
Mm-hmm.
Hulu doesn't have anything yet. Disney Plus, actually, I don't pay for it all because it's my parents' plan. They have like everything that they've ever released on 4K, like on home video, is in 4K on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
HBO is getting there. HBO Max is getting there, but like, yeah, freaking
Netflix is really dropping the ball.
$20 a month. The only time I go to Netflix is if I'm like, I have no idea what I want to watch. I'm just gonna see what's on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
This happens maybe twice a month, maybe. Right. I have not gotten my money's worth out of Netflix since the last season of I Think You Should Leave dropped.
Yeah. I do have the 4K plan for Netflix, but that's because I pay for the plan that has like a large number of streams because I share my password with my entire family.
Right.
But supposedly they're cracking down on that. Right. So if that goes by the wayside, then I'm out for sure.
I also share my password with my entire family. And yeah, I'm sure when I cancel, my little brother Miles will probably be upset, but he'll probably be making more money than me in like 5 years. So maybe he should be paying for Netflix.
There you go. Yes. Just because you're the oldest doesn't mean that you have to pay for all this stuff, you know? I agree. I'm with you on that. Yeah. Okay. So a couple of the missed scenes there. Thanks for filling us in. Yes. And I'm kind of pissed now that happened, but next scene, coach's meeting adjourns. Jess asks coach, you know, if he takes the job for the Dillion Panthers super team, will she get to go with him and work under him? I don't know. What would you call her position? I don't even know.
Yeah, she's like the equipment manager or something, I think is like her official title, but she's kind of
a little more.
Yeah, she's a little bit more than that now. It's hard to tell exactly what her position would be called because she's not a coach, but she like meets with the coaches. Like she's
she occasionally gives input. Either. Like she's earned the right to give input at times, but he basically says like, listen, this is a terrible time for you to be bringing this up, but it is already under consideration. So apparently he's already been thinking about this and seemed pretty promising. So
next scene looks like another one that was cut.
Oh, all right.
For you. So they must have cut early because this is half of them already. We get a scene of Tim at football practice. He's just kind of sitting and watching the practice with little baby Stevie. I wish you would have been able to see this scene because it was very funny and also because I only took half-assed notes on it. But he's like, see them over there? Cheerleaders. They're the best thing in the world, but they'll also break your heart. And then he's like, see the boosters over there? They can be your best friend or your worst enemy. Like he's like kind of giving baby Stevie advice about cheerleaders and boosters. After that, there's a little scene. You may have gotten this of Tinker. He's talking with Luke about he's concerned that he won't make the super team next year. Also, this practice is completely cut for you. He's basically just like, I'm not going to make no super team. Like he's really down in the dumps about it.
Yeah.
About the merger or whatever. Coach then walks over and says hi to Tim and is like, how's everything going over at Buddy's? And, Tim's kind of like, and coach just says, if there's anything you need, you can call me. So that's kind of the end of the scene.
All right. I can understand if you're going to cut a scene, why that one was maybe cut, but
Tim Riggins just spewing nonsense though is always a great time.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm sorry that I missed
anytime it's Tim Riggins giving life advice to someone, it's always gold.
100%. My mind immediately turns to Tim and Jason Street in Mexico. Like that's Tim at his finest right there. I mean, in multiple ways, like both in terrible life advice, but then also in like pure unadulterated love for his friend.
Right. See, my mind goes to Tim's tour of the town with Luke, I think, was it?
Yeah. Somebody. Yes.
Fran's Hamburgers.
Fran's Hamburgers. Yeah.
This bar, know me as Toby.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we do continue with Tim and Stewie, right? He brings Stewie over to the Colettes the next scene.
So I've got Mindy and Becky talking about how Becky is moving back home with her mom. Do you have that at all?
I remember that. Did I actually? I have that much later, like 4 scenes later.
Oh,
so maybe they jumped around here a little bit.
That's really strange. Yeah, because I've got Mindy and Becky talk about how Becky is moving back home with her mom. And when she gets back next week, like mom was coming back next week, she's moving over there. And then Mindy is kind of cold to Becky. I think this was a scene that was cut. Let me just double check.
Yeah, so I got the Tim and Becky
and Mindy. Yes.
Okay.
So I do see here 4th scene that was cut, Becky and Mindy talking about Becky leaving. So
okay. All right. So yes, I got at least part of that. Yeah, Becky's mom is moving back. She was on a boat or something, right?
Yeah, Riverboat Casino or something like that.
Riverboat Casino. She's moving back home. We still don't know. They must have had renters in their
several months
previous in their house. But she is moving back. She tells Tim, I don't know if you got this, but she says that I think she said like she's glad she finished high school or something, that she's glad Tim like talked her into that, or I don't know, but that she's over her crush with Tim. And
that's way later for me.
Okay.
Way later.
Okay, so we're getting multiple things mixed up. See, come on, freaking Peter Berg or whoever made this decision. Yeah, like multiple
3,
scenes
4,
later.
5 scenes later.
Okay, then we will wait on that. But I thought that's the scene you were talking about. But
no, it's Mindy and Becky, not Tim and Becky.
Oh,
this is Mindy and Becky. They're talking about Becky moving back home with her mom, and then Mindy's like really kind of cold to her. Like she seems, I don't know, like disappointed. Maybe she's gotten used to Becky or something, I guess is what they were implying. Being around. But
I mean, I had a student staying at our house for like, it was less than a week, but it's someone that we've known since we lived in Sioux Falls, but she went to Northwestern. She stayed in our house for like a week, and it was disappointing for us for her to move out, because it's like, man, you can like watch our kids for 15 minutes while we go take care of this or whatever. So I can for the first time in this entire show, I can maybe understand where Mindy is coming from and sympathize with Mindy a little bit here, that she's moving out. But come on, Mindy. Like, she's getting her mom back. Chill the heck out.
Yeah. So then after that, I do have Matt actually giving his big permission speech to Coach.
Okay, I have another scene in between. I have Tim bringing Stewie over to the Collette household, and Tyra is there. Did you not have that one?
I've got that 3 scenes later.
Okay. Well, I'm going to do it now because I feel left out and underprivileged because you get all the good stuff. But so in my version, Tim brings Stewie over to the Colette's. Tyra's there. Tim's like, hey, what are you doing tomorrow night or whatever? Tyra says, yeah, I'm hanging out with Matt and Julie. Tim's like, oh, Seven's back in town. And Tyra tells him, yeah, he's back. And actually he and Julie got engaged. And Tim basically like invites himself along.
Well, because she says that they're going to be at Buddy's.
Yes.
And I think the implication was that Tim would be working because he says, like,
I didn't think about that.
I'll see you there.
Yep.
I'll see you there then.
That. Yeah. And that makes sense because later on I was like, we just talked about how Julie is 18 and Matt is 19. How did they get this like giant tray of alcoholic drinks?
Yeah.
But it's because Tim is working. Okay.
But then Tim can't be more than 20. It's same with Tyra.
Well, right. But if Tim's in charge, he's the one that's serving the alcohol. Yeah. So, okay. Now we're synced up again. Matt
for now
asks Coach if he can marry Julie. Take it away.
Yeah. So Matt, he finally performs. I thought it was going to be another fake out. Because it's just once again just a static shot of Matt, and I was like, oh, who's he practicing to now? He does his actual permission speech to Coach. Coach does not take to it very kindly.
Oh.
Says like, my answer is no now. My answer will be no tomorrow. My answer will be no probably until the sun burns out.
Yeah.
Coach is flat out pissed. He says, this is a question I want to ask you because I think this is something we've talked about off the podcast, but never on record. But coach says something where he's like, how old are you? And Matt's like, oh, I'm 19. Oh, because this is a scene where early on, the earlier scene with Landry, Landry says something, or Matt says something along the lines of like, oh, I should tell coach that I've got a job at like this art gallery. And Landry's like, no, you idiot. Like,
don't say that,
coach. Yeah, don't say that. Like, coach doesn't care about no art gallery. Like, he's a manly man and all this stuff. So, because coach asked Matt, he's like, how old are you, son? I'm 19. How old is my daughter? She's 18. And he's like, you're too young, blah, blah, blah. And then Matt starts saying like, well, I've got a job, which like really, got me laughing, but, he doesn't say where it is, I don't think, to coach, but coach is pretty pissed. But the question is, because once again, this is something that you and I have talked about, I'm pretty sure off the record, but let's go on the record. I was telling Angie how this show is so funny and how it affects your emotions because we hate Julie.
Absolutely. We hate her.
We really do. We hate what she's put Matt through. But when this happened, when Matt proposed, I was kind of like, those kids, I'm happy for him. They just seems right. But then when coach said this, I was like, so something you and I have talked about is young marriage, good or bad.
Yeah. I figured that's where you're going with this. And I think that the conclusion that you and I have come to off the record is not good.
Not good.
We have many examples in our friend group where it has proven to be not good.
Not good. Gotta agree. Something I think a lot about, and I maybe have said this particularly on the podcast, but my mom had me at 22 when she was 22.
Mm-hmm.
My grandpa had my mom at 22, and my great grandma had my grandpa at 22. So when I was born, my great grandma was a great grandma at 66.
Oh, wow.
Yes. My great grandma was alive until I was almost 30, which is
that's pretty
insane. Wild. Actually, I was 30 when she died. Now that I think about it, but something I think about a lot is, my God. And I granted this is having children and not just getting married, but something I think about a lot is, I'm 34 years old. If I had a 12-year-old running around right now, and if the mother of that 12-year-old was the girl that I was into when I was 22,
yeah,
and I was tied to that person for the rest of my life,
whew,
buddy, I would be in a sad state of affairs.
Yeah, your life, and I think just who you are in general would be wildly different.
Yes. Correct.
Yeah, we were just having a conversation we had like a bunch of staff meetings this week since school's done, and we're kind of wrapping up. I'm officially done with work now. Yesterday was my last day. And we were talking about a former student who, like, after their freshman year, went home for the summer and came back married, like, and didn't have a girlfriend going into the summer, and then came back in August and was married. And so they were talking about how crazy that was. I didn't know this person, but they were, and one of my coworkers was like, so yeah, how are they doing? And the person telling the story was like, oh yeah, they're not together anymore. Absolutely not. Like,
oof.
Like, I don't know. The more I work with college students, the more I think, like, you just don't know who you are at 21, 22. You don't
Seriously,
know.
No.
You've got kind of a direction and you know what way you want to head, but you haven't actually tried that out.
Right.
You haven't like actually gone out into the world and been like, okay, this is what I'm about. And here's how I'm going to try to do that. And like, you're just complete. Yeah. you're clueless at that point.
Right.
So,
and that's Angie and I, we had this lengthy discussion on our drive down because we were talking about, I got to say, Brookings, I tweeted this, you probably saw it, but Brookings in the springtime, for me, I always love Brookings like around this time of year.
okay.
There's something in the air, like it's the smell, like it's just something.
Yep.
And I mean, I think maybe you living in a college town kind of get this too, is like there's kind of a feeling of renewal around the time where like graduation's about to come around and like half the town is about to empty.
Yes.
Sure. And then like just directly after that happens, there's just like a feeling of renewal. I always really loved like the month of May in Brookings.
Yep.
And like today, like we got pizza from George's Pizza and just like smelling George's. It was just so got me nostalgic. But we were talking about how like I got accepted to USD before I got accepted to SDSU. And honestly, the biggest clincher of me going to SDSU is that I knew a person there who like wanted to get an apartment with me. And that was like, all right, I'm going to SDSU because I have a place to live in Brookings basically set up for me to go to.
Yeah, sure.
But we talked about like, so because we went out with her friend's parents last night who went to USD, or the dad went to USD. And we were kind of like, I'd boo, doing a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And we're kind of, joking. I said, you know what though? Like, I don't really have a problem with the school. I've had a lot of friends that have gone to USD, specifically like the med school and law school.
Yep.
But like, I'm sure it's a fine institution, but God, the city of Vermilion is just depressing.
Right.
And we talked about that, but I was like, I had a cousin that was going to law school for the first 2 years of what would have been my undergrad time. So I was like, I had incentive to have gone to USD and I would have known a few people down there and I would have probably had a fine life. But like, I didn't think about like what an actually like massive decision that was at the time.
Yeah, right.
All things considered, because like my life would have gone in a completely different branching direction just by going to a different school.
Right.
To the point where I probably would have never met my wife.
You definitely wouldn't have, right? Like there's almost no way.
Almost certainly.
Because it's not like you met her in Sioux Falls or anything, right? Like you met her in Brookings.
Yeah.
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 That's wild.
A near 0% chance that I would have even met my wife. Who knows if like my summer in Okoboji would have happened. Like there's so many like, but at the same time, it's like, what could have been on that path, for better or for worse. So I don't know. It's interesting to think about and it can get a little heavy, but I guess the point is, to get back kind of rounded back is we talked about this too, because she was talking about a friend who got married very young and, is now living that life, like she's got X amount of kids and doing that. And she was like, I think this person would never say this, but I think if they had the chance to go back and do it all again, they probably would, all things considered, and or do it differently is what I mean by that.
Okay.
Yeah. If they could go back and do it differently, they would. That's what I meant. And yeah, like I just don't think, I think you put it best. Like you just don't know who you are at that time. I still, like I told Angie, I was like, in the years, especially in the years leading up to Angie and I deciding to get married, we've been together for 6 years the day we got married. And in those years leading up, like my mom was very like, oh, you guys should get married, all this. And I was like, I remember like having a breakdown one night where I was just like, Mom, just got divorced. Like,
right.
You don't understand the like how much that is me up.
Right.
Like,
right.
Because the thing that gets to me is I'm 34 now. Who knows? 21 was 13 years ago. Who knows in 13 years, what if I'm a completely different person from now?
Right.
It's terrifying. It's very scary. But that shouldn't hold you back.
Right.
When you're at least mature enough to know.
Yeah.
But
I think you have to, the difference is you need to be mature enough to like stand by your decisions and be like, okay, this is who I am. I'm not going to get like obsessed with what might have been. I am going to invest fully in what happened and who I am now. And yes, exactly what is. This is going to get a little bit theological.
Yeah.
But I've been thinking a lot about how I remember when I was in college, I read this book called The Will of God is a Way of Life. And it talked about like how people always want to know like, oh, what's God's will for my life? Like, what school should I go to? What career path should I take? All these big questions we want to know like 5 years ahead. Like, you know, what's the big like trajectory that I'm on? And this guy who he actually was a chaplain at Northwestern, but is now like a big author. But he lost his mom, wife, and 2 kids in a car accident. All in the same car accident. And his what he says is the will of God. You live into the will of God when you take the next faithful small step. So we're really preoccupied with like the long-term picture, right? But he's like, you can't know that. There's no way to know that. What you can do is just take like the next like faithful step in like who you know you are and what, you know, if you're a like believing person, what God is calling you to. So you take that step and you take the next step and you take the next step. And then that will eventually, if you're faithful in the small steps, will lead you into the big things. Right. And so I think a lot of this is like, you just need to be, when it comes to marriage, when it comes to these big life decisions, you need to be at a place where you can like take ownership of the decisions you've made and commit to them and be like, okay, I've chosen who I'm going to marry. I've chosen to have kids. And now like, yes, I'm going to stick by my decision and I'm going to live into this as faithfully as I can. I'm going to raise my kids the best I can. I'm going to love my wife the best I can, even if it gets hard and you know, things are rough. Like I'm sticking by this. So, and I just don't know when you're 18 to 22 years old, if you are capable nowadays, like probably, you know, 60 years ago, it was different. Maybe you were forced into a higher level of maturity when you were 18 to 22. But now the way our culture and society is, I don't know that when you're 18 to 22, you can make those decisions and be confident enough in who you are and where you're headed to stick to those decisions. And like we said, we have just a kind of abysmal number of examples of how that has proven to be true.
I mean, like I said, you know, the national divorce, you know, number is always kind of growing and creeping around, you know, that high 50% or, you know, in the 50% range. And to me, and I tweeted this a couple of years ago, but like, to me, it's like a big issue of it is just these people who are who are young and a dangerous combination of religious and horny, and just want to like have sex without feeling guilty about it. And to me, that results in, you know, we were talking the other day. I had so my high school class was 32 people. Right now, 5 of those people are divorced, and not even everybody has been married.
Oh wow!
It's like a 17% rate at 15 years after the fact.
Well, yeah.
Like
that's rough.
It's terrible. You know, like, and you know, I knew this kid that I worked with. He was probably, he was 21 the summer that we worked together. And he was just looking for love in, I guess not all the wrong places, but a lot of the wrong places. But just like, he just wanted, you know, he was just in that zone. I think we all go through a phase where, or at least, you know, those of us who are allowed to be emotional when we're young as men, I'll go through a phase where we're just like, oh, I just want to get married. And like, that's, you know, like have a family and At least I went through that for a while. And this kid, like, he was dating a girl for like a month, and like they took like they got a professional photographer to take like couples pictures, like they almost look like engagement pictures. And I was like, bro. And then like less than a year later, he was married to a different girl. Like just like jumped into it. And I don't know how he's doing now. He like went off the grid, like he's off of all social media. Okay. Like, and that happened like but I think, you know, I remember he told me, this is when we were still working together. He was like, you know, not religious, but like pretty casually religious kind of guy.
Yeah.
And this girl's parents were really religious. And I remember like they had started dating and the guy asked him like, how's your relationship with the Lord? And he was like, he's like, you know, he pulled like, he was like a politician. He told me all about it. He was like, you know, I thought this was really good. So I answered him. I said, you know, I would say that, you know, I've got a good relationship, but, you know, dating your daughter, like will give me a better opportunity to have an even better relationship or something like that. And I was like, oh man. But yeah, they went like off and got married, like in like that.
Yeah.
And he called me actually like a couple months ago to ask me to be a reference for his, law school, like the LSAT, something, or maybe it was the bar exam. He apparently had to have a few references.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
I told him I would. I haven't gotten a call from it. That's been 2 or 3 months, but yeah, that's the only I've heard from him in the last several years. But he went off the grid, and I hope he's doing well. But part of me is just like, God,
I don't know, man. I just think it's one of those things where, like, we as a society changed so much in such a small amount of time that the traditional institutions that we like form our society around like could not adapt quick enough to how our mindset has changed.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
so, like,
absolutely.
I would say probably before our parents, because I think there are pretty good amount of like our parents' age people who have had marriages that have self-destructed.
Oh, for sure.
But like maybe our grandparents, like I feel like they just had a different mindset and looked at life in the world differently in a way that was more conducive to sticking out a 70-year marriage.
Right. Yep.
And the way that we think about the world now just does not fit into that. And so like we have these institutions that are probably going to take generation after generation to like adapt and change, but our minds have adapted way faster in the way that we look at things. So it's kind of a bad combination, and we can see by the statistics that it is not a good situation currently at the moment.
I think that a lot of people, well, and this is another thing that Angie and I talked about, is like she was talking about how being around like my mom, and she just has seen how different she was brought up versus how different I was brought up. I think she made a good point where like I had made a comment where I was like, I'm really happy with the way that I was brought up in a lot of ways, because there was a lot of freedom to kind of decide who I was and, not have to worry about, trying to conform in certain ways. Even though try as I did in certain ways in high school, but like, but I told her, I was like, but in some ways I do wish that I did have a little bit more discipline and have, if I would have maybe been brought up a little bit more, a little bit more disciplined, then maybe I would have had a little bit more, like success and earlier on in my life than I did. And Angie had made a point where she was like, well, your mom was probably just in panic mode, like your entire upbringing. Cause she was like, oh, I just want to make sure this kid is fed and alive. And so, it just kind of is what it is. But even like when I do my job now, I'm always just like, am I like slacking here? Like, like, is everybody slacking as hard as I am and still like failing upward, I guess is kind of the way.
So let's this was good conversation for sure. Let's dial it back in to Matt and Julie getting married, potentially. Coach goes and tells Tami that Matt Saracen has asked their daughter to marry him, and Tami responds, "Julie?" And Coach says, "No, Gracie." Dumbass.
This is a good bit.
Yeah, so Tammy's a little taken aback by that, obviously, and she goes to talk to Julie. She kind of, tries to approach it very tenderly, and says like, "Well, you guys are very young." And she and Coach Taylor want to take Matt and Julie out for dinner, and Julie's like, "A celebratory dinner?" And she's like, "Well, how about a conversation dinner?"
Yeah,
let's start with that.
So the next scene that I got was Tim delivering Stevie to the Colette home.
Oh, damn.
And asking Tyra what she's doing tomorrow. Yeah. Well, we talked about it earlier.
Okay.
Yeah, we talked about
all right,
an hour ago, but
right,
not that long ago in the
okay,
in the edited down episode. So the next scene after that we get is Pa Howard. He's at a bar.
Yep.
Telling stories, and Vince steps in, asks him to talk. This makes me wonder if this is a Texas thing, because I don't know if you noticed much about this bar.
Yeah,
but it seemed to be in a trailer home.
Yeah, like
kind of reminded me of the bar that I went to, that was in an old house.
Yeah. It made me think of when Coach Taylor gets like ejected from the game and he goes to basically a trailer house 3, bar. Yeah. So
must be a Texas thing.
Must be. Yeah. I put it in my notes as a juke joint, even though that's more of a Memphis thing. And I didn't feel like this was actually a juke joint, but just like, basically like a little rundown building where they play like music and people drink.
And I thought it was odd that the entrance, so the door was open because it's Texas and the weather's, but they have those like freezer like hang down strips of plastic.
Yeah.
That you
so
usually
they're keeping
only
the
find
AC in. Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. I didn't think of that as why. I was like, what's going on with this? But that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yep. I missed
why do you have the door open in addition to the
maybe just to make it more hospitable, like come on in,
because for me, when I see the door open, what that tells me is this place either doesn't have AC or is not running the AC currently to let in some fresh air.
Sure.
So I think it's a mixed message.
I think it's probably just like, come on in, the door's open, but we also have AC.
Okay. Okay.
At this point, I did not catch this, but based on later scenes, does Orville turn Vince down at this point?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't catch that. So
Vince shows up. He takes him outside. He tells Pa that he's got a ticket for him to state, ticket for the game. Pa says that he's got other things going on, but that he'll be watching.
Come on, bro.
So, yeah.
Okay. All right. Sure. Next. Okay, wait. Is this a Becky and Tim scene?
Yes,
here?
This is where I get Becky and Tim outside the convenience store.
Okay. So Becky runs into Tim outside the convenience store. Tim has Stewie. Becky,
which doesn't make sense because he wasn't delivering him. He was just stopping to see Ma Colette, I guess, with Stewie.
Yeah. They were just hanging out. The whole Tim and Stewie thing is weird. I don't. Yeah. Whatever.
I get it. Like he's trying to be an uncle and like whatever, but it's still strange.
Yeah. Becky tells Tim that she's moving back home. Her mom is coming back from the riverboat casino or whatever. This is where I couldn't remember exactly what she said, or I didn't get exactly what she said, but she, like, according to my notes, is glad she finished high school and thanks Tim for that. Maybe she thanks him for, like, convincing her not to work at the landing strip or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that could be. I didn't note that, but it probably was said. The only thing I have in my note is that she tells him that she's over her crush.
Yes.
And Tim goes into full on Dominic Toretto mode. And
family.
Because she says, so let's say friends, and he says, let's say family.
Dominic Toretto. Yes, he sure does.
And he offers a Corona to her.
I missed that.
No, that's
that's Dominic.
Suddenly he goes from long hairs to bald.
I have actually a note on that later about Tim's hair, but we'll talk about that later. It actually came from Diamond. So
okay. So the next scene for me, but not for you.
Yes.
Is we've got a scene of Billy. He's handing out the tickets. He's Tinker. Him and was it Straub?
I would assume it's Straub. But
they're both yelling out the names. He pulls out some questionable Hernandez.
Rodriguez.
And then 2 tears in a bucket Luckett.
Whatever that is.
But then he calls on Howard. Vince comes up and he insists that he only needs 1 ticket. Coach kind of sees this, kind of gives him a questioning look, but lets it go. Billy continues calling names beyond that. And that's kind of really the only point of the scene, is that Vince only needs 1 ticket. Has made a point of only needing 1 ticket.
Yes, correct. Next scene, Jess comes home and her. Oh God!
I got the dinner next.
Okay, you take the lead here.
Okay. So after the handing out of the tickets, we've got the conversation dinner that was spoken about earlier in the episode.
Okay. Yes.
So things are pretty tense. We've got Tami, Coach, Julie, and Matt. Things are pretty tense, but Matt is sticking to his guns. He wants to marry Julie. Coach tells Matt that marriage requires compromise. Julie, which kind of gets a look from Tami as he's telling Matt all these things.
Yeah.
Julie reminds Coach and Tami that they have been through a lot over the years. And all they've been through over the years. Tami gets emotional and steps out, and Coach steps out, comforts her outside the restaurant. Tami tells Coach, "It's my turn. We've done this for you for 18 years, and it's my turn."
Wow, I just got Tami stepping out and being emotional. I did not see Coach following her out.
Yeah, he comes out and hugs her, and you don't. Wow, that
feels like a very big deal, like pivotal. To have Coach come out.
I'm shocked that they cut that.
Yeah, the scene of the scene that ended this is Tami stepping outside and crying, and that was it. So
I got a little bit more on the DVD. So
okay, all right. So Tami is asserting herself here a little bit in the midst of her emotional.
And Coach is pretty silent. He kind of acknowledges, but doesn't. You can see in his face that he acknowledges that they have definitely favored him specifically for a number of years, but he doesn't
not necessarily conceding.
Yeah, he doesn't really know what to say. Then I get a scene of later that night, Coach and Tami out in the living room.
Nope.
Coach sits down with Tami to talk about their situation. Tami tells Coach, "Man, see, this is such an important scene to me too.
This is pissing me, it's legitimately pissing me off that I did not get this."
Yeah, this is a really important scene to me in this episode because it kind of shifts the narrative. Because in this scene, Coach is like, "Are you going to talk to me?" And Tami says, "I don't know what there is to say. I'm going to say no to the college because I know that this is more important for you. I'm going to turn them down." And Julie kind of steps in and says, "Oh, you guys are still up. I just wanted to tell you guys, about the engagement that you just need to trust me.
What the hell?
Yeah.
The 45-minute version is bullshit.
So then after that scene, I'm just going to lead for a little while.
Yeah, go ahead.
Following that scene, we get a scene of Billy and Mindy who help Becky move. And Becky has like an emotional, like, thank you moment. Thanks them for everything that they did for her. We see Alicia Witt as Becky's mom again, which we love to see Alicia Witt, folks.
Yes, we do.
She's a beauty. After that, we get a scene of Jess coming home and learning that her dad's restaurant. Oh, that restaurant your dad opened up in Dallas? Well, it really took off, and he's opening a second location. He's moving your whole family there.
That's like an entire season of like, okay, so what happened to Jess's dad? What happened to Big Ray?
Where's Big Verge? Where's he been this whole? Where's Big Verge been this whole time? Yeah, they clearly just did not renew his contract.
Yeah. We can't afford Big Verge at this point. So, well, yeah, they're moving, and the brothers are like packing up immediately. Like, we're throwing our crap into boxes and we're ready to go. Which, yeah, I guess if you haven't been living with your dad for that long, sure.
And I suppose so. There's, I guess, opposing thoughts in my mind of this, because if you live in Dillon, which we've established is roughly between 500 and 100,000 people.
Yep.
The move to Dallas would probably seem significant.
Yeah.
Pretty big, probably exciting if you're a child. But as an adult who's been to Dallas and has decided that of all the major cities he's ever been to, Dallas would be far down the list. Gotta say, couldn't be me.
Yeah. Chill out, bros. It's not that great.
it's too sprawling.
Right.
But pretty dope to be in they've got that's a 4 sport city for sure. 4 major sport city.
Yeah.
Plus soccer.
Yeah, that's not a 4. So
the big 4: hockey, basketball, baseball, football.
Right.
And then you get, Dallas FC is there.
I got to figure in Texas though, the big 4 you substitute
football, and football.
Well,
professional, the Dallas Cowboys, and then the 4 high school teams that are there.
I was gonna say you substitute soccer for hockey because it's Texas.
Right.
But,
well, I think anywhere. I think if you're considered to be a 4 sports city, which this is weird. When we were driving from Houston to back to South Dakota, we had this conversation because, there's a lot of time to talk with me and Angel's dad. It's weird because did you know that in terms of metro area, San Antonio is like the second biggest metro area, I think, in Texas, and they only have one professional team. Do you know that Columbus is the biggest metro area in Ohio? And to my knowledge, they only have a soccer team.
Huh. No.
Like Texas, I get because maybe it grew differently, and they were just like, oh, Dallas, Houston.
Right.
Is there another major one?
Austin,
which they don't have any. They have a soccer team, but I think that's it. Then San Antonio has the basketball team.
Yeah.
But then, it was crazy. When we drove through Waco, I looked at the Wikipedia page, and it was wild because it's like 130,000 people, and it's the 22nd biggest city in Texas. It's like weird. that would be the second biggest city in South Dakota.
Yeah. Huh. I did not realize that it was smaller than Sioux Falls.
Yeah.
Weird.
It felt because Baylor is there, so I wonder how much of that is the college population affects whatever.
Yeah.
But it felt kind of. What it felt like is it felt kind of like Brookings, where it's like this is a nice town and it would probably be cool to live here, and like housing is probably pretty affordable. But it felt like, and I think this is something that I think about a lot with what the urban or rural divide has kind of become, where it felt like a town where people grew up and were just like, oh, our next aspiration is Austin, Dallas, Houston.
Yeah. Right.
You know, like we're not going to stay. It felt like a college town that, you know, people either grew up there and then moved to Austin, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Corpus Christi, wherever, or they grew up somewhere, moved there for 4 years to go to Baylor, and then moved to a city.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, it felt like a dying town in that way.
Yeah.
Next up, I'm guessing that you got this scene because it feels pretty pivotal. Is we've got Coach visiting Pa Howard in the bar, the same bar.
Yep.
He has a haunt. And he's got his ticket to state and basically just brings it to Pa Howard, lays it down. Yeah. I don't remember if he actually says anything.
He does. He says something along the lines of like, you know, you've got one chance at this, or, you know, this like is an opportunity of a lifetime, basically.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Yep. So yeah, he gives Pa Howard the ticket that Vince refused. Next on my timeline events is Becky and her mom sitting outside their house.
Yep.
Okay. It appears they're having a beer. Is Becky having a beer?
I didn't note that because I had made the note. I think what had taken me off guard so much is the off-color joke that she makes to Luke.
Okay. Well, okay. I'll just say, I think they're both having a beer. And how old is Becky? Like 17 at the oldest?
Yeah, at max.
Yeah. So they're having a beer together. Luke drives up. He walks up with flowers and a teddy bear. And there's an off-color joke.
Yeah. Ma Sproles, Alicia Witt, come on the show. How you doing? Ma Sproles, because so Luke shows up, brings the flowers and everything, and Ma Sproles says something like I like this kid, he's a good kid, just hope he learns how to like wear a condom.
Oh geez.
Yeah.
I don't remember that at all. Maybe I didn't have that. I don't know, but
yeah, she says something like, oh yeah, he's a good kid, just needs to learn how to wear a condom. And I was like,
you guys had an abortion.
Yeah. Like last year with it, like, you know, not that long ago.
Yeah, so she goes in the house at some point, like, oh, nice to meet you, you know, because apparently they've never met. I guess I didn't. That makes sense.
I was trying to remember if Ma Sproles was involved in the abortion storyline, because if she wasn't, how much more difficult would that have been for Becky? Like
she was, because she was like because she kind of like weighed in with, she was young when she had Becky.
Oh, that's right.
Like,
yeah,
you can't do this. Like, this is going to ruin your life, basically, is what she said.
That's right.
So she was there, but she apparently never met Luke. But she goes in the house. Luke kind of does it like, I'm so sorry. I was so stupid. I'm so, like, will you please take me back?
I love you.
I love you. I want to be with you forever.
Yeah.
All that.
You're a child, Luke. You don't know what you want.
You're 17. Please don't do this. Please, Luke. Please don't do this.
Later on at Buddy's, we've got Tim bringing a loaded tray full of several different kinds of drinks.
There's beer, there's liquor, there's mixed drinks. We got it all. At
one point in the scene, I think we see Tim drinking straight out of a bottle of whiskey, which hindered my beer count.
I thought of that while it was happening. I was like, all right, how do we take this?
I probably should
appears to be drinking out of a bottle of Jack Daniels.
I'm going to go ahead and add one more just for that, because I think I counted a beer, but I think we should count one more for that shot of whiskey that he.
I got to assume that if Tim is taking a pull off a bottle of whiskey, he is taking at least two
multiple
drinks.
Yeah. There's implied. we'll get there and have that discussion at another time later this episode.
Okay.
But yeah, Tim, he brings a whole plate of liquor and beer over, does a toast to Matt and Julie. We see the two couples dance to a song that I did not recognize. I did not Shazam any music in this episode, even though there was a lot, and Angie was Shazamming like crazy.
Bro, I got you. I actually I've never Shazammed on this show. I Shazammed on this episode.
The vibes are immaculate.
Wow. Hello Darlin' by Conway Twitty is the song that we had. I actually Shazammed it because I was like, this is in my Q zone.
Right.
I love this. So Hello Darlin' by Conway Twitty is what they were all dancing to.
Perfect. We see the two couples dance. We've got Matt and Julie. We've got Tim and Tyra. Tim is kind of putting the moves on Tyra, trying to rekindle that flame. They've got a lot of history, and we know that, but she's a little bit resistant to it. She's not 100% sold. She's got a new life now. You know, she is. You know, we can talk about this a little bit later, but I think that she's in a place that she is finding herself to be. She's finding some success in a way that she probably never expected to. And I think that she is 100% fairly reluctant to try to rekindle flame with her dirtbag high school boyfriend. And I say that as a proud current dirtbag. So
sure. Probably number one, number two, Tim Riggins apologists here, but we understand where Tyra's coming from. She specifically says that she has plans. Tim says that he does not have plans. So they're not conflicting, you know. If she has plans, Tim's like, yeah, whatever. I'm game for whatever. So Hello Darling by Conway Twitty. I'm adding that to my summer playlist because I loved it. Coach and Tami, according to my timeline, are in bed in the morning.
Yes. Yep.
And Buddy calls.
Yep.
He informs Coach that Buddy Jr. is staying with him El Permanente.
Does Buddy still have his radio show?
El Fuego. I don't think so, but he's held on to a little bit of Spanish from that experience.
Got a lot of irons in the fire, Buddy does. I still want to know how the car dealership went under. I suppose it was probably him jumping ship of allegiances and the rest of the town not wanting to support him. But as that is the case, you still wouldn't think that. Well, I suppose that a beer is cheaper than a car. So it's probably easier to run a bar when half the town doesn't have your allegiance anymore.
Yeah.
And it is to run a car dealership.
That's a little bit bigger of a commitment to buy a car than it is to buy a beer.
Especially when you move to the, maybe rougher side of town.
Absolutely. Buddy informs them, that Buddy Jr. is going to stay with Buddy Sr., but also that they want Coach to sign the 5-year coaching Dillion Panthers contract before he leaves for state. Coach doesn't really commit during this call and tells Buddy to never call him this early again. So he hangs up on Buddy, but Coach tells Tami what's going on. Tami seems very sad and just simply responds like, I'm taking Gracie to see Santa today.
Which, man, I can't believe that I'm so bummed that they cut the scene for the shorter version about Tami saying that she was going to turn down the job, because I think that adds so much emotional weight to this scene with her saying, like, I'm not going to take the job. So she has already decided, she already knows, and that, like, in the context of what I watched, she already knows that she's going to stay in Dillon and that's going to be her life. And she still gives this visible, like, look of being upset, as if somewhere deep down she believes that Coach still will turn around and change his mind.
Right.
Which, I mean, it adds so much to the scene. What a who's the head of? It
changes everything.
I gotta talk to Ebersol, whoever's the head of NBC, because they really dropped the ball on this.
Yeah, because in my viewing, it's coaches like there's no decision made, and coaches like leaving it. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Coaches, no, you're right. Coaches is kind of leaving it as a like, don't ever call me this early again, buddy. I'm not giving a solid answer. They haven't. Oh, man, yeah. Coach hasn't made a decision, even though Tami has already technically made the decision for him.
Yeah,
adds so much weight to this for me.
It changes the tension completely. Like 100%. It flips the tension of this scene. Yeah. Next, we see the locker room before they leave for state. Oh no. This is where it gets mixed up because I already talked about Buddy Jr. wearing a stupid trucker hat, but we already talked about that at some point. So, What do you have next?
I've got Jess telling Coach that she's moving to Dallas.
Okay, yes, because this was one scene for me, but it got split up for you. So
sure.
We already talked about this, but yes, Jess says her family's moving to Dallas, so I don't need. Yeah, I'm not going to be a part of your coaching staff either way.
Super team. Yeah. Is this where Coach? Yeah, I can't remember if this is. Well, hold on a second. I think this is because I can't believe I didn't make a note of this, but mentally I made a note because. Jess tells Coach she's moving to Dallas next year and she won't be around for the super team. Coach tells her that she'll be missed and that he'll put in a word with a coach that he knows in Dallas.
Yeah, at Dallas Walker. I assume that's the name of the school, Dallas Walker.
Yeah, that makes sense. But is this a scene where Jess tells Coach she's like, this has been the best time of my life, and Coach was like, me too, because my mind was like, bullshit. Coach, you were absolutely full of it.
I guess I didn't have that reaction, but yeah, this was that scene. Yeah.
You won state, dude. The best times of your life, let alone coaching career, are definitely have not happened yet at East Dillon, period. But also like definitely have not been just helping you out. Like, we've talked about this and I think maybe had a disagreement on it, but there was that tweet that was, who's a fictional character that you love but no would vote for Trump, and like one of the most like, so I think maybe the instigator was like, for me it's Coach Taylor. I disagree. I don't think Coach Taylor would have voted for Trump.
Okay,
Anthony gets political. but I do think that I think he's definitely a Bush Republican, right? Like,
oh yeah. Well, Bush is like Texas to the core, right? So,
right.
And Coach is Texas to the core.
I think that he definitely has an air of a good old boys, nest to him, and I really don't even think lying about Jess being one of his assistant coaches is as the best like highlight of his life or whatever. Come on. Coach.
Okay.
First of all, you're married. So wedding day, buddy.
Yeah,
you got 2 kids.
2 kids, absolutely. So you got 1, 2, and 3 need to be
right there.
Spoken for.
Marriage, birth of Julie, birth of Gracie. Well, hashing of Gracie. You've got the several moments of those things happening, firsts with the wife, kid learning to talk or walk or whatever parents are into, those memories that you have.
Learn human communication. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Julie getting her driver's license. That's a proud moment. I'm
slamming
sure.
Even though she slammed into a mailbox, but yeah.
Her graduating high school, probably a big one.
Right.
You winning a state tournament outside of your wife and kids, pretty big one. I don't think this girl that you'll probably forget about in 5 years being an equipment manager on your football team on the east side of town in this 50,000 person Texas town is probably the greatest moment of your life or greatest memory of your life or whatever.
That's fair. I think I gave Coach a little bit more benefit of the doubt in, seeing them go from like literally forfeiting games in the first season to, state championship contenders. But
I will say, the career of East Dillon for Coach is probably a highlight of his coaching career. But still,
number one
at this point, you got to think about, at this point, he hasn't won state with East Dillon yet.
Right.
He's made it to state, but he has won state
right.
with a player who is currently at least like tearing it up in the college circuit, if not a pro by now, in Smash Williams.
Right.
I just don't buy it. Sorry.
You're right. I got a little what's the word? Rose-colored glasses. Sure. I think
absolutely,
with that statement. But if you really get down to it, that's ridiculous. Musical cue. I have not had any musical cues for the entire 2 years of our existence.
I didn't have a single one in this episode, even though I knew Angie was Shazamming the whole episode. And my mind, for whatever reason, wasn't. I had to there was probably 4 or 5 scenes during this episode where I just got so caught up in just watching it that I would be like, oh crap, I have to rewind because I haven't been taking notes. I've just been paying attention. So.
This is fantastic. I got the Shazam on this. Don't Tremble by the Low Anthem was the song that was happening here. It was very effective too. I thought it was a good choice, which is why I Shazammed it.
Yeah.
Next, Matt and Julie over at Grandma's. Unfortunately, I'm very disappointed at this point. Grandma is not dead.
Grandma's still alive. Yeah, very much alive.
Damn it. Grandma is insisting that Julie wear her dress, her wedding dress. She found it. She went into storage, got the dress.
Weird bit, right?
Yeah.
Okay, here's the thing. I understand about. I've heard of the handing down of wedding rings.
Yeah.
I've never heard of the handing down of wedding dresses. Not only, period, but especially for the grandmother to the
granddaughter,
grandson's wife.
Yeah, right. I don't think this is. I think this is one of those things, like I talked about earlier, where society's thinking has far outpaced the traditions.
Yes.
And so, sure, when it was like the 1850s and the granddaughter was getting married in 1900 and nobody had any money, sure, the granddaughter or the granddaughter-in-law wore the grandmother's dress.
Right.
But this is 2011.
Honestly, depending upon how old Grandma Saracen is, which it's implied that she's relatively old.
Yeah. Unbearably old.
It's almost weird that she even had a wedding ring.
Right. Yeah.
Because
like a wedding band, maybe,
I'm pretty sure that my great grandma had a wedding ring at all, like her entire life.
Yeah.
Maybe a band, but I don't even know about that, to be entirely honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
That's a relatively new thing.
Right.
Which is another reason that the wedding industry is bullshit.
Immoral.
And why Angie and I spent $20 total between our 2 rings.
Good job.
So it's weird, right? That she's offering the dress. It's very strange to me. I don't support it.
Yeah. No, she's like, I can't believe how white it is. It needs a little washing, but I can do that in the kitchen sink.
Yeah.
Okay, Grandma. Just go ahead and die already. She goes to look for some shoes and a veil. And while she's gone, Julie kind of starts to get some cold feet. She starts to doubt whether this is the right decision or not, but Matt kind of talks some courage back into her. Grandma comes back. She found her veil. It's one of those like hat veils. My mom 100% had a hat veil. She had like a cowboy hat veil.
Oh, wow.
For her wedding. Yeah. So I'm not gonna, trash talk my mom's wedding decor, but let's just say it was very similar to what grandma was wearing.
Product of the time.
Scene. Yep, absolutely.
Product of the time. Not to say that your mom is as old as grandma.
No.
I don't want to compare your mom to Grandma Saracen at all. But
God, no. But early 80s is when early 80s is when my mom got married.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently that style was still hanging on from grandma's time. So.
Well, they say, Texas is a little bit more of an urban area. They've got a lot more cities. By the time that the early 80s rolled around, it probably had just gotten to South Dakota.
Yep, that makes sense. It's weird to think that Texas is ahead of the times of South Dakota, but it's fair.
In a few ways it is. I don't know. So we get a scene next. Vince and Jess did you get the scene?
Yep, I did.
Yep, they're in the locker room, and Vince kind of just tells Jess he loves her and that he's really happy that she's been a part of the team. Even though he wasn't sure right away, it's been really great for him.
Yep. Next is Tyra and Tim. They're out on Tim's land that he bought. Tyra says, don't laugh at me, but I kind of want to get into politics. And Tim's like, what, you mean like Sarah Palin kind of stuff? And she's like, no, you ass. Like Mrs. Taylor, but bigger. So kind of a nice little aspiration there for her. Maybe.
It is a nice little aspiration, but Mrs. Taylor isn't really political.
No.
Like,
principal or vice. She was vice principal, right?
She was counselor when when Tyra was still in.
Oh, just
or maybe she was principal the last year, and then I think she was counselor in season 2, and then principal in season 3, and then became counselor again at East Dillon in season 4 and 5. So
right. So we don't really consider principal of a school to be a political position, right?
Right.
But I can also see where she's coming from a little bit.
We know, of course, that Principal Levi is an anarchist.
Principal Levi.
I think you should burn the whole system down.
We ain't got funding for that. Let's burn it down.
Tear the whole system up from the bottom.
Okay, so I can at least see where she's coming from. Of Tami Taylor. Go ahead.
No.
Tami Taylor at least tries to make a difference in the world around her, and I think that's the ultimate, at least initial goal of politicians is to make a difference in the world around them. That quickly becomes extremely jaded and
money, baby.
Yes, influenced by the dollar bills. But no, Sarah Palin. Once again, I will say I saw Sarah Palin as the governor of Alaska at the Homer, Alaska Library. But like Mrs. Taylor, but bigger is what Tyra says. I'm just reading the quote that I wrote down. Tim, I've been in love with you since I was 5 years old. Being here with you, it's the greatest feeling I've had in a long time. Scares the hell out of me. I have dreams, Tim. Mm-hmm. Tim says, I know you do. I have dreams too. I'm going to build a house exactly where we're sitting. I will get a job. Tim's really dreaming big here.
Big dreams.
I'll get a job. And I'm never going to do anything illegal for the rest of my life. Guaranteed. And
says the guy who just is 20 years old max and was pounding whiskey and served minors just 24 hours prior.
Not even. He says, maybe one day our dreams can merge together, which is that's a nice sentence.
It's a nice close on them. Yeah.
Yep. It's at this point that Diamond, my daughter, 6-year-old daughter, points out that
recent kindergarten graduate. Congratulations. Diamond, come on the show.
Last night. Diamond pointed out that they look a lot like each other. She points out Tyra's got basically the same color hair as Tim does
at
this point.
Yeah.
So you see the shot of them like from behind sitting in their chairs looking over, and yeah, they do look a lot alike. And I said, you know what, Diamond, you are correct here. Also,
both beautiful human beings, gotta say.
We get real explosions in the sky here. This isn't
Yes.
knockoff Friday Night Lights explosions in the sky. This is real explosions in the sky. I Shazammed it. So nice little scene here.
Angie and I watched something recently. It was an episode of a TV show or a movie that, it was a movie. It was that Pete Davidson movie, The King of Staten Island, that had like the real explosions in the sky that the theme song, the TV show theme song is based on. Your Hand in Mine.
Yeah.
I was immediately like, oh yeah, I know the song. So
nice. Yes.
Yeah. So they share a beer together, Tim and Tyra. This is kind of the close on them for the show.
Yeah.
So
thank you, Tim Riggins, for your service, for your
shout
time.
Out to Tim.
Shout out Tim Riggins. We
Taylor Kitsch, come on the show.
Next, Gracie Bell is meeting Santa. So she's sitting on his lap. Coach shows up unexpectedly to tell Tami that he turned the contract down, which for me, this was completely out of the blue.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I didn't have the same lead up that you did. Tami can take the job in Philadelphia. They can just go ahead and leave Gracie Bell there because she fits in better as a weird little elf anyway. So they can head off to Philadelphia and leave her there. But yeah, that's kind of a pretty big turning point, I'd say, for the episode.
Yes. Shortly thereafter, we've got the team arriving at state at the Cotton Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
They're taking in the scenes. Do you know where's the Cotton Bowl at?
I was literally about to Google that
because in season 1, state took place at.
It's in Dallas.
Oh, interesting. So because it took place in the Cowboy Stadium,
right?
And I don't remember where state took place in season 3, but here we have it taking place in Dallas, but at the Cotton Bowl instead of. Was AT&T Stadium built at that point? It had to have been, right?
Yeah, because weren't they there like in the early last season? Wasn't it already built?
So the Cotton Bowl. Let's see what do they have
1930s is when the Cotton Bowl was built.
I want to see what what's the capacity. Do you know, without looking at it, what the biggest stadium in the United States is?
I mean,
I do.
I honestly would guess that it was the Cowboy Stadium, whatever that's called right now. It's not.
I think the 4 biggest, something like the 4 or 5 biggest stadiums in the United States are actually college football stadiums.
I guess that makes sense.
The biggest is Michigan. University of Michigan.
I would have guessed Alabama, but okay.
Sure, yeah. University of Michigan, the Wolverines, something like 120,000 capacity, something like that.
That's insane.
You imagine?
No,
in
I can't.
Michigan?
Especially when I feel like Michigan and Michigan State are both hugely popular schools. And so it's like you're taking this smaller state of Michigan and you're dividing it in 2 and you're still getting 120,000 people.
Right. So Cotton Bowl, the capacity is 92,100, which is actually bigger than AT&T Stadium.
Crazy.
AT&T Stadium is 80,000. I wonder if they have the old Cowboy Stadium. Probably not. Toyota Stadium, which is where I was, that was 20,500. That's where the national championship of the FCS was played.
That's crazy how tiny that is in comparison to these.
I know. Well, it's a soccer stadium mostly. Okay. It's for FC Dallas plays there, but AT&T Stadium is actually smaller than Cotton Bowl, and I got to imagine that Cowboy Stadium was smaller than AT&T.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Michigan Stadium, 107,601 capacity. But it has hosted crowds in excess of 115,000.
Yeah, that's wild. It's no wonder that people are like obsessed with college football when they can actually go to those games.
As a person who hates college sports, I don't get it. I can't imagine being more into, like, if you, let's say you grew up in like some like Podunk, Eastern Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
I understand, like, by like proximity, you would be into like Lincoln, like UNL football, but not more than Kansas City Chiefs football. Right?
Yeah. I really do think that if you went to a football game where there were 87,000 people cheering for the same thing,
Right. Maybe I
you
just
could
gotta
get
go.
swept up in that.
Maybe I just gotta go.
Yeah.
Right?
Probably.
I've been to a national championship football game and it was fun. I think, but to me, I think that tie that I had, that I actually went to school there, is so much more important to me than just being at a football game where people are excited. But that being said, we've talked about how I fell in love with baseball, which was just being swept up in the crowd,
Yeah.
So maybe I just got to go to UNL game. My little cousin who just graduated from high school, is going to UNL next year. So maybe I got to hit him up and be like, hey,
make it happen and report back on the OC podcast.
What if I become a really annoying Nebraska Cornhuskers fan? Like, I become one of the, like a Jerry Dykstra, where I'm just like living in the 90s, even though I didn't care at that time.
Then I think the OC podcast will probably fizzle out.
I just keep trying to talk about the Huskers. Do you know in 94?
I'm pretty sure colleges don't really come up in the OC until about season 4.
Yeah, until they're
Brown
deciding
College.
Yeah,
Brown
maybe
University.
the end of season 3.
Yeah.
They're deciding where to go to school.
And all you can talk about is UNL.
You know what's a different college? You know where summer should have gone?
Yikes. That reminds me that freaking Chris Pratt is in that season.
Yeah, he is.
As Che, one of the major characters. So if you're a Chris Pratt fan, if you've never watched the OC, come listen to
there's
California,
a few, like,
Here We Come.
There's a few early like performances from like would-be early Olivia Wilde. When I fell in love with Olivia Wilde, season 2 OC, my goodness.
All right. So they pull up to the Cotton Bowl. We get more real explosions in the sky, like the real deal.
Mm-hmm.
They go out and check the field. They're in awe. We've seen this in previous seasons, this scene. I will say that we get kind of the shaky zoom on the lights. That is, I feel like, just an original Friday Night Lights shot. Staple. I feel like they kind of turn back the clock here a little bit, and they give us kind of the classic FNL movie / season 1 shots. We get shots. Oh, and then it like transitions. Like we go from checking out the field to, okay, now it's like 15 minutes before game time.
Yeah.
We get the shots of the nervous players. We see like,
hold up. Before we get there.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about, this is probably the closest scene that got me emotional.
Okay.
Closest to tears.
I mean, from here on out, it's pretty much, but yes.
But there's a scene while they're like all in the Cotton Bowl and taking things in. Coach goes up to Vince, tells him he's proud of him, and Vince tells Coach, like, you changed my life, and they hug, and it's very, like, that to me was probably the closest I got to tears. That was I think that completed the Vince arc perfectly.
Yep. So I don't know if this is just a little miscommunication, but for me, that was in the locker room.
Oh, was it? Maybe it was.
Sure.
I just have it in them arriving at state notes. So maybe it was.
Yep.
Yeah. Because then the team says a prayer. Yep.
Yeah. Vince says, like, Coach tells him how proud he is of him. And Vince says, like, you changed my life, Coach. Coach prays. We get shots of them going out on the field. I made a note that there's very bad CGI for filling out the crowd.
Yeah, there was a few scenes where it was extremely obvious they couldn't fill the upper deck, but couldn't hide it.
Yep, it was not great. It was distracting.
Yeah.
Now
that we know that the capacity is 90,000 people, like how are you even going to try to fill that with extras? For a show that is on DirecTV, that probably by the time that they filmed it, people were like, "Oh, that show's still in the air."
Right. Yeah. You just think about it like, okay, let's say you pay every extra $5 for their time. That's
450,000.
That's $500,000. So yeah, that's not happening.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that I don't know about extras, but I'm pretty sure SAG doesn't allow even extras to be paid that little.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. It's not great, but we do see a little back and forth. We see Vince's dad showing up to the game. Orville Redenbacher is in the stands. The Lions score. We see Luke Cafferty kind of catching a short pass, running in for a touchdown.
Yeah,
we do see
almost comical that. So we don't. I thought this was really interesting. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you and cut you off, but the way that this game is filmed, we don't really see any context. We never see the score up until the end.
Right.
It's just a bunch of plays happening. We just see the crowd. Oh, or yes, or
yes. We see Buddy on the sidelines, either very excited or very distraught.
We have no idea what the score is. I think we see one touchdown get run in by each team.
Yeah.
Really seems to be unsure, and it's really, really I thought it was great because it was perfectly ambiguous.
Yes, absolutely.
To a point where I was like, I really don't know what's going to happen. I haven't watched this in 12 years, something like that.
Right.
A little bit more than 12 years. So I was like, oh man, I don't know how this is going to go. This is perfect even watching it now because it's like, man, what are they going to do? And then they kind of almost ruined it.
Oh,
where they turned it into there's 3 seconds left and the Lions are down by 6. And it's like, how many times have we done this?
But how else could you end it? You've got to continue.
I think if they would have kept it ambiguous, just show scenes from the game, but don't say who won. And then just like they did, they just cut to Vince at practice and he's got the ring on. To me, that's it. Don't show the score, just show ambiguity and then explain. Show, don't tell.
So I don't know that I saw Vince with a ring on. So that might have been something that you got and I didn't, or I just missed it.
Did you not know that they won or not?
No. So the way that I found out if they won is 3 seconds left, down by 5.
Yeah.
They've got 63 yards to go, which I thought was meaningful because Pa Howard had that thing about throwing a 60-yard bomb earlier in the season. So I felt like that was a little bit of a callback. Coach says, you've got to give the receivers time. Vince says, yes, sir. They've got one last chance. We see Vince kind of scrambling and ducking and dodging, the defensive line, not getting sacked. He steps up, he heaves it. And then at this point, I'm assuming you have the same transition. The ball's in the air.
And then it goes from night to day.
Into the lights. And then as it comes out of the lights, it goes from night to day.
And it's 8 months later in Philadelphia.
8 months later. And the way that we see that I saw that the Panther or not the Panthers,
was
the Lions won. Yeah, they're taking down the banner that says East Dillon Lions champions. I did not see that he had a ring on, but maybe I just missed that.
I bet you just missed it because what I've got in my notes is Vince throws a huge pass, the ball transitions, and it's Philadelphia 8 months later.
Yep.
Coach is coaching there now, and then we see Tami on campus. She's living her best life. You can just see in her face she's loving it.
Mm-hmm.
And then at Panthers practice. We get a scene at Panthers practice, and Vince is wearing his state ring at practice. So yeah, we got Vince wearing
that. I just saw him in a Panthers uniform.
Yep. Okay. It's a very, I mean, they kind of like, they kind of like cut, and it's just his hands, and you can kind of see the ring. But I understand if you're not looking for it, it didn't like zoom in on the ring specifically, but it like it had both of his hands in the shot.
I was Shazamming at the time.
Sure.
Actually.
Understandable.
Devil Knows You're Dead by Delta Spirit.
Yes.
Call back to an
love Delta Spirit.
Yep.
Then we've got Vince wearing his state champs ring. We've got Buddy and Junior. We see that they made a super team because we saw, well, in my version of the episode, we saw the anxiety of both Buddy Junior and Tinker, worried that they wouldn't be good enough for the super team.
Mm-hmm. Yep, but they both are shown in Panthers uniforms.
Yep.
We also see Buddy cruising around the field in a golf cart.
Back on his bull. We love it.
His bull. Exactly.
Just loving it. Just loving
it. Tinker in the uniform. Billy Riggins has a coaching job with the Dillon Panthers. Mm-hmm. So we're glad to see that. This is
we got the assistant coach from the Panthers who never jumped ship. Is it Mac? Okay. Not Mac. It's a different, but he is the new head coach, which we're happy for him, because I think there was maybe a scene of tension because he'd never made it to the head coaching level with coach. And so we're happy to see him. He got his happy ending.
Yep.
And then suddenly, out of nowhere, Luke is off to war.
Right. What the hell? I said Luke Cafferty is in the military and heading out on bus like that Taylor Swift music video.
Yeah.
Looked exactly like the Matt Saracen. What's that?
He's
Matt
at the
Loria.
He's
Taylor Swift video. Okay.
He's Matt Loria.
Is that his name? What's Matt Saracen? No, that's actually
Zach Guilford.
Luke Cafferty's name is Matt Loria.
Okay. I was very confused there for
Zach Guilford. Yes.
Zach Guilford.
Sorry.
Like it's a weird transition, because I think the implication is that he's off to basic training, but you don't get on the bus in your uniform if you're going off to basic training.
No.
He's in full uniform. From the Dillon
never
bus
given any warning whatsoever.
No, there's not even like a scene anywhere in the series prior to this moment where Luke is like, I've been thinking about joining the military.
No.
It's completely, it's kind of jarring. Like I said, it seems like he's off to war because you don't get that uniform, I'm pretty sure, before you go to basic training. Becky's about to go through some more trauma, I think.
I feel like Luke Cafferty, the obvious plot destination for him is he takes over the farm for his dad, and he and Becky live on the farm in Dillon, Texas, and they live happily ever after. That's fine.
Yeah, lower middle class. Do that.
Why don't we just do that instead of Luke Cafferty going off to war?
I don't get it.
2011. Would he have seen combat? 2011.
I think it is canon. So this was filmed, but not. It aired after, but filmed before. So I think it is canon that Luke Cafferty killed Osama bin Laden.
Is that in the IMDb trivia? I think it is. Yeah.
I'm going to add it.
Yeah, he grabbed those hard drives with all the like weird porn on it and stuff.
Yeah. He was the one who not only murdered bin Laden, but also leaked that information about the weird freaky deaky porn that bin Laden was into.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. I like that ending then.
Mm-hmm.
I can deal with that. It looks like Julie is living with Matt in Chicago.
Yes.
Matt is an artist. There's works of art all around his
drawings of hands everywhere.
That's yeah. I didn't see that, but I was gonna say that I'm assuming that that's what
I
it
also
was.
didn't notice specifically what it was, but I
Yep.
got to imagine it was hands.
Yep. We see okay, so we're totally in the ending montage here where everything's getting wrapped
It's just
up.
tying everything up. Yep.
Jess is coaching or equipment managing or whatever at Dallas Walker. Coach must have put in a good word for her, and she got her spot there. Tim's building his house. Billy is helping. They crack a beer, look out over the land. And this is where we end with Texas Forever.
Yep.
Texas Forever.
And then we get a nice little scene of Coach. He's coaching his new team in Philadelphia.
Yep.
Is it a high school team? I think
so.
I feel like he could coach if he was a high school, 2-time state champion high school coach in Texas. I think he could do, especially since he was getting offers in like Florida and stuff. I think he could be coaching at a higher level.
Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's high school though.
Because it does seem to be.
He's like, okay, so I wrote down the quote. He's like, you know what I just realized, fellas? We have a long way to go, gentlemen, a long way to go. You know what? I'm looking forward to it. You go home, get your rest, get your studies done. Be here at 6 a.m. That means no later than 5:45 a.m. Clear eyes, full hearts. Nobody answers. You know what? We'll worry about that later. So that seems more like a high school thing.
Yeah. Oh, for
like
sure.
These are just clueless.
Yeah.
16.
I think it would have been nicer if you would have.
Got a college job. Yeah.
We want to see Coach, succeeding. I think it's a downgrade for Coach to be going from 2 Texas state football championships to a podunk Philadelphia. And I mean, maybe it's Coach's passion to maybe build these teams up, but I just think, he should be coaching at some Philadelphia college.
I'm looking up right now. Division I colleges in Philadelphia.
Would have to be a fake one, of course. So it would have to be.
That's true. They have 5.
That historically black Philadelphia college. That's called, Carlson College or something like that.
They got University of Pennsylvania, LaSalle University, St. Joseph's University, Temple University, and Villanova University. Yeah. You think he could have picked up one of those coaching jobs?
Yeah, I think he could be. College. Temple, is that like the Temple Owls, or that's
Owls?
Temple?
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
You could have.
They were a team.
The coach.
You know how I know about the Temple Owls is because my cousin, who got married in 1997 or 1998. I was their like gift manager or whatever, whatever gift that job is, gift attendant. Yeah. Me and their other little cousin was the gift attendants. We were, 10 years old, 11 years old. And so as the gift that they gave me was college football 1998, NCAA football 1998 for PC.
Ooh, baby.
So you would have think that I would have turned out a bigger college football fan, but not so much the case. But I remember at the time I chose Notre Dame was my team because as you remember, Platt fight song was the Notre Dame victory march with different lyrics.
Yep.
Until Susan Porter came in and tore the whole thing down and decided to make it the SDSU song with different lyrics. And as a fan of SDSU, don't support it.
No,
but
I love Susan Porter, but that was a bad call.
Bad call. But so I chose Notre Dame, and when I played like the season mode or whatever it was, you would always play the Temple Owls, and you would always just destroy them. They were terrible. So I think Coach is more than capable of coaching 100%. The Temple Owls.
100%. I would have wanted a little bit more for Coach, but ultimately we're glad that he stepped aside so that Tami could do her thing.
Yeah. We're proud of Coach. He made a selfless decision for the first time in 18 years. Very inspirational. We like to see it.
Yep. If I would have had to have placed a bet on where they ended up, I would have said that they ended up in like Washington or Oregon.
I think at the beginning of the series, you had made a comment about Washington. I think if you go back to episode 1, go ahead and correct us, Reliving the Lights super fans. But I think in one of the early, like first 3 episodes, I said, I think they end up in either Washington or Philadelphia. I'm pretty sure that I had mentioned Philadelphia as an option, but
I definitely plan on listening back to at least the first episode of Reliving the Lights before our recap.
See where we were.
Yeah. So
go back to our roots.
Tami comes to practice. She walks up to coach. You ready to go home? Yeah, let's go. They walk off the field arm in arm. The stadium lights turn off. That's it. Roll credits. End of the episode. End of the season. End of the series. Not quite end of Reliving the Lights, but pretty damn close.
Yeah.
We'll be right back with our final award. No, I feel like we'll give out awards in the last episode.
Yeah.
We'll be right back with our awards.
We need the cumulative awards.
Absolutely. All right, we're back. We're going to give out our awards for the week. We're going to start, as we always do, with Coach Taylor inspo rating. Coached the team to a state championship. So I feel like the bar is, or the kind of like floor for this episode is set pretty high. How inspiring did you find Coach this week?
I am going to go with a 9.
Yeah.
Not perfect because he does understandably get a little selfish about, you got a 5-year deal. And it seems to, the implication of the last several seasons is that kind of deal doesn't just happen.
Right.
We saw them not too long ago with for sale signs on their yard.
Right.
After like one loss, we saw him get fired from that same team in favor of some guy who apparently just couldn't hack it.
Wade.
Yeah, Wade Aikman and Joe McCoy, who have been nowhere to be found in this entire season.
Couldn't afford him.
Right. So I think we understand the selfishness that Coach has, but we still have to knock. I want to say 1 point, but I'm going to say an overall 9.
Yeah, I'm with you there. He's really dragging his feet on the Tami thing, which on one hand we don't blame him, like you said.
Understandable, yeah.
Like you said, 5-year deal. I almost feel like getting 2 years into a 5-year deal and then getting fired is like the optimum. Like that sounds great.
Right.
You go and win another championship and then get fired for whatever reason. Like I shouldn't say get fired, but even if you get fired, you're still getting paid.
If it's a guaranteed contract.
What do we say Coach is making? Like,
I can imagine that this 5-year deal especially has got to be, I think we had decided earlier that it's somewhere in the $70K range. I can imagine that he's getting a raise with the 5-year deal.
Right.
Even.
Yeah.
Or maybe they cut his pay, but offered the 5-year deal. But I got to imagine it's still somewhere between 70 and 100K.
Right. So even if you get fired 3 years in, you're still making $250,000 to do nothing.
If it's a guaranteed contract.
I just think it is. I don't know. Maybe that's just my NBA fandom coming through. But
see, as a wrestling fan, I go the other way because I just read a book about the fall of WCW, which did have guaranteed contracts because they were owned by Turner and he had like basically unlimited money.
Right.
So a lot of the reason that the WCW invasion sucked, which you'll eventually get to, and that was basically when I stopped watching, was that they had this whole concept plan where it was like, oh, WCW's invading, but the problem was that all the big guys with WCW were like, no, we're not going to go work for you and cancel our Turner contracts that are making us max amount of money for just sitting at home and doing nothing. The Hulk Hogan's, the Kevin Nash's, the Goldbergs, like they were making $1 million a year or whatever for doing literally nothing for another like 3 years. Why would they like close that contract to go to work for a rival company, quote unquote rival company, if they would make less and have to do more?
Right.
Doesn't make sense, folks.
So basically coaches Hulk Hogan in this situation.
Yes. Theoretically.
Brother. Yeah.
Proof in my gym, brother. HH.
I'm good with the 9 here, regardless. So that's good. Julie Taylor hate-o-meter. Julie goes ahead.
I'd love to see a this is something that would only be now on the Reliving the Lights Twitter, but I'd like to see a fictional Coach Taylor Twitter page that's just Hulk Hogan tweets from Coach Taylor. Good night, jabroni marks. Who don't know it's a work when you work and work yourself into a shoot, marks, ET.
Yeah, I could go for that. All right, Julie Taylor, how much do we hate her? She went ahead and got engaged without Eric's permission, but how much are we holding that against her?
We had a lot of conversations about this that'll probably get cut down, which is fine. But I have to say, none of that was her fault. It was all Matt's fault.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking like a 2.
Yeah, not super hateable. We're borderline. I don't know. I feel like maybe you were rooting for the marriage a little bit more than I was.
Against my better judgment.
Yeah.
To be entirely honest with you, have we spoken about, which I want to talk about for a second off mic, off the record.
Okay. So yeah, 2 seems fair because it's a little bit hateable, but at the same time, you're kind of rooting for them despite that. So let's go with a 2.
Yep. I get
Big Rig beer tally. We definitely had some drinks here.
Yes. So I initially had 4 and I marked a 5th for the whiskey shot, which I had not previously accounted for. We had 4 beers. And we'll see if memory serves. So we had Tim working on the truck at the beginning.
Yeah.
We had not at football practice. He might have had a beer when he dropped off Stevie at the Colette house. Maybe
I specifically remember Ma Colette offering him a beer, and he said yes.
Perfect. So we'll do that. I think I counted for sure a beer when I bet this is it. 3rd beer was, I bet, at the table where he toasts Matt and Julie. And the 4th beer is when they take a beer break when they're building the house. And then as we were recording this, I added a 5th, which was the whiskey shot. Bottle. And we could probably count 6 or more, but 4 confirmed beers. We'll call it 6.
Let's call it 6.
Let's call it 6.
Like it. I've got a lot of work ahead of me in the next couple of weeks to really tally up the official total cumulative Big Rig beer tally, but let's give it a definitive 6 for this episode.
Perfect.
The Alamo Freeze presents the Matt Saracen Aw Shucks Goofus Moofus moment of the week. Oof. How do you choose here?
My mind says the proposal at the Alamo Freeze, but my heart says when he shows up at
The
Coach and Tammy's house.
I think it's the proposal. I think the proposal is more aw shucks, because in the conversation with Coach, he's trying to assert himself, which is not very aw shucks. He's
Right.
trying to be like, listen, we don't need your permission. So I think the proposal in front of the Alamo Freeze is the answer.
I'm gonna quick scrub through.
And I know it's just, I'm very happy. It's jolly.
Okay,
Very happy. It's jolly. Someone's at the door.
Someone's at the door.
Hang on. Would you like me
I'll
to
get the door. I'll get it.
No, I'll help you.
Hey.
Well, thank you.
Merry Christmas. It's Matt Saracen, honey.
Oh wow. No, okay. So you did not get. They cut a lot out of that.
Oh, really?
They cut a lot out of that from the DVD.
Okay.
Because when he's at the door, what I just saw was literally just like, oh yeah. In the the DVD cut, it is
Mhm.
considerably longer. It is
And I assume
considerably
painfully awkward.
Yes. Is Julie here? I wanna. And then Coach is like, Matt's here to see you, honey. Yeah, it is. It goes on so much longer. So,
Okay.
just because we're considering both cuts, I will give you the proposal or Matt's conversation with Coach. But man, I like the only time I noted the goofusness was when he comes to the door, which is cut to ribbons in the Netflix version. So
Okay. I'm going to trust you on that. And I say we go with that. Donnie Buddy Garrity sleazeball move of the week.
we didn't get a lot of Buddy
No,
in this episode at all.
just cruising around on his golf
Which I
cart
think
for the
is-
Dillion
I think-
Panthers.
I mean, as we both said, back on his bullshit. I think that is
Yes.
it's not, maybe not a sleazeball moment, but it is definitely a Buddy moment.
A buddy moment. Absolutely. I'm good with handing out the award to that moment. Buddy cruising around the golf cart for the Dillion Panthers. Mere months after changing his allegiances.
Yes.
So, Joe McCoy, stud of suds, smug scumbag move of the week. I don't really feel like this was a scumbag heavy episode.
Not a lot of scumbag moves at all. Like the best I can come up with is maybe like Pa Howard, like kind of initially turning down
Yeah.
the invitation to go to state. That's it.
I think so. Yeah. So, I mean, we'll give it to him, but that's a pretty weak one. Notable music cues. I had The Devil Knows You're Dead by Delta Spirit, which is way up there. A couple of actual explosions in the sky, not just like cheap imitations of explosions in the sky. I think there was one more, but I'm not.
You had the Conway
seeing it.
Twitty, right?
Oh yeah,
Or-
Conway Twitty, which I loved, which will go on a playlist for me. So those are the notable ones. I feel like if you're gonna pick one, you probably go with Devil Knows You're Dead by Delta Spirit.
Yeah, I like Delta Spirit.
It sticks out the most, even though the explosions in the sky ones are probably more iconic when it comes to Friday Night Lights. Outdated pop culture reference of the week, canceled corner. Nothing comes to mind immediately for me. We are in 2011, which I feel like was a very different time than 2006, 2007 when this came out. So
But we still weren't where we are now. Let's see here.
this probably isn't like the actual answer, but asking for the father's permission to marry. Like we said, it's not for everyone, but
Maybe not canceled, but it's definitely, I would say, outdated to an extent.
outdated. Yeah. Yep. Close enough. Quote of the episode.
I think maybe Tinker is saying you're a straight up jackass to the local media reporter.
That's pretty good. How about Tim saying, I may or may not be going to Alaska, and Billy saying, is that because you raw dogged Tyra last night?
That's a good one. We've also got Coach. I did write down a couple quotes in this episode, which I'm kind of surprised by, but another great one is Coach saying, my answer today is no. My answer tomorrow is no. My answer is no, probably till the sun burns out. This is good, but yeah, I gotta say, I think maybe is that because you raw dog Tyra last night? Is pretty good.
The only other one I'd nominate is where Tyra is talking about her dreams. Tim says, I have dreams too. I'm going to build a house exactly where we're sitting. I'll get a job, and I'm never going to do anything illegal for the rest of my life. Guaranteed. Maybe one day our dreams can merge together. I did like the maybe our one day our dreams can merge together. That was kind of touching, but we got to go with raw dogging, right?
Yeah. I will say another one that's on the IMDb is Coach Taylor saying to Vince, you may never know how proud I am of you. And Vince saying, you changed my life, Coach, which was it's a special moment. A lot of nominees in this episode, I'll say.
But raw dog.
Yeah. I mean, in the spirit of reliving the lights, the answer is raw dog.
For sure. MVP of the episode, who won this? I would like to nominate Tami Taylor.
Really?
Well,
I was going to say...
Because we always do.
Right. For obvious reasons. Usually that's my job. But for me, it's hard not to say Coach Taylor.
It's
in
Coach.
This one.
It's Coach on this. He wins state. He defers to his wife and lets her have her day. And it's Coach Taylor on this for sure. Okay, episode rating. Let me see real quick what IMDb gave it. I'm assuming it's
like a 9.6. Yeah,
it's a 9.6.
Yeah. I will say they stuck the landing, but I will say this. Even as I was watching the episode, even as I was watching last week's episode, part of me was like, man, they've really got a lot to tie up. And they really, even though they stuck the landing, they really did okay, here's a real quick what everybody is doing now.
Yeah.
Even though this episode for me was an hour long, for you was 44 minutes or whatever. I think this easily could have been 2 episodes. I mean, I think they did it in season 4 or season 3 where the state tournament took place the episode before the finale. I think they could have done that. Have the state tournament be 1 episode and then do a wrap-up episode after that.
Yeah.
I will say, if in a perfect world to me, you have the state championship episode, you win it, you do all that, and then there's an episode where you tie up everything, and you have leading up into it, it just felt like there was too much to wrap up within 1 episode. And I think that I think the logical thing is to have 1 more episode just to really, really tap those things. So for me, did they stick the landing? Absolutely. It's a great episode, one of the best episodes of the series. And I couldn't have asked for much more, but I'm going to go with a strong 9 as opposed to a 10.
That's exactly where I was at. As I pondered this beforehand, I thought I have no actual complaints.
Yes.
Could it have been better? Yeah, yes. It could have been a little bit better. So I think a strong 9 is right exactly where I want it to be. Like we said, the IMDb is 9.6, which is by definition a strong 9.
Yep.
I think that's right on. It's a strong 9. Not going to complain. Nice work.
All right. So we'll shout out. We'll start with shouting out. No one Jack 8. Once a Jack, always a Jack, and he has blue and yellow in his profile picture and banner photo, but it's the Los Angeles Rams. I almost called them the St. Louis Rams, which I suppose makes me feel extremely out of touch. So I'm not sure which Jacks you're talking about. But
well, and he's also from Wales.
Oh, so I don't. Yeah, what's your deal, man? But he says, as you're getting close to the end in the last episode, are you going to do a final Big Rig beer tally and average the Julie Hatemeter score, quarter the entire show, and scumbag move of the series? Yes.
100%.
I guess probably a lot of work, but I'm interested to hear both. Yes, I think
it's happening.
We had been keeping stats for a long time there. I know Josh kind of fell out of touch with it.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of work to do, but we do have a few episodes to release before we have to record the finale. So I'm going to leave a lot of that work up to you. I think you and I know what the quote of the entire series is.
Yeah, I've got a thought that comes straight to mind. Yeah.
Almost became the title of the show.
I'm gonna save it, but yeah, I'm assuming we're on the same page here. Yes,
yeah,
we're definitely gonna do a wrap up show, so be looking out for that coming up soon. I will put in the work. I'm gonna listen to the awards section for every episode that I did not keep close stats on. So we'll get.
I'd like to do the average or the full Big Rig beer tally, how many beers he drank throughout the entire series.
I also want to know, like, per season, like for each season, you know,
how many per season. I'd like to know what the average Julie Hatemeter score is throughout the entire series, what the average coach rating is throughout the entire series, etc.
It might take a few weeks to pull all that together, but I'm on summer break and I'm planning on putting in the work. So, we've been putting 2 years of time and effort into this, so we might as well end it the right way. So no one Jack 8, you got it, man. It's coming up. No one
also,
Jack.
Followed up with us 10 days later. Same guy. No one Jack 8 who says finally catching up at the end of the show and on 509. Not sure what happened to Niall from Wales, but I can confirm that I am still listening in Wales. Hope he comes back for one last show appearance. So thank you to one of our two over the course of the series listeners in Wales that we know of. We appreciate it. We appreciate you not dropping off after my very poor attempt at a Welsh accent.
It was rough.
We appreciate your good humor. And once a Jack, always a Jack. Gotta say I agree, but probably for different reasons.
Absolutely. Kevin, never heard from you before, but what happened to episodes?
He's new.
11, 12, and 13?
He started following us just a couple days ago.
Well, there you go. Just a couple days ago, asked what happened to episodes 11, 12, and 13. I'll try and get that out tomorrow or at least Sunday. Yep. I'll get 11 going.
Which means nothing to you now because by the time that you hear this episode, they'll be out.
Right. I did just comment.
I did. Yep. I did see that. Yep.
And then our guy Chris, between him and Riley, most dedicated fans.
Up there for sure.
Chris giving us a can check for the weekend, drinking a hazy IPA. Love to see it, Chris. You're our guy. Looking forward to someday sharing a beer with you in person.
Yes.
I'm up in the cities enough that we'll make it happen. So
same. Yeah. I think we need to do a combined trip to the cities so we can meet up with Chris. So it's not weird for just one of us.
Absolutely. Chris, you seem like a weird, not a weird dude. Cut that. Chris, you seem like a good dude, but I'd feel a little better if Anthony and I were together sharing a beer with you. So I think that's the extent of our social media shout outs.
Yes.
For this episode. Where we are, yeah. So Anthony, what's our lesson of the episode? What's our moral? What's our takeaway? What's the lesson that we can apply to our everyday lives?
Well, Josh, I think this episode specifically, and with where I am in life right now, I think speaks a lot about relationships, a lot about handling those relationships. And I think a lot of our conversations that not only made the episode, but maybe ended up on the cutting room floor this evening were about relationships, gained, lost, sustained. And I think the lesson of the episode for everyone is compromise. Compromise is important. In all relationships, be they romantic, be they platonic, I think it's important to give a little and get a little. We see this with Coach. We see this with Tyra and Tim. We see this in our own everyday lives as I prepare for my wedding reception here 5 months into my own marriage. And so far so good. But I think the name of the game is compromise. And I think Coach is a good figurehead in that conversation.
Yeah.
Things aren't always going to go your way. And sometimes that's okay. And you got to let somebody else have their way. You got to give and take, baby. It's all about give and take.
That's right. Yeah, that's good. Kind of along those same lines, we've been recording this podcast for almost 2 years, and there are definitely themes to this show that we've identified, that we have latched onto, and that I feel like I've actually learned and grown from in a very real way. And one of those lessons is that nobody actually knows how to use a semicolon, and we should just desert trying at all. Let's just get rid of semicolons.
Okay. Bold.
You don't know how to use it. You think you know, but I don't even think you know. I have an idea, but I don't think it's right. Haven Iron Oak in this last synopsis did not use it properly. Movie Dude 1, hell no.
No.
That guy has no idea. Let's just get rid of it. Semicolons, no.
No, I think there's a time and a place. I disagree. I think there's a time and a place. And I do think if you put me in front of a person who has their master's or doctorate in English, and they asked for 3 examples of a properly used semicolon, I think I could do it.
No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Agree to disagree here. If there's one thing we've developed the ability to do over these last 2 years is to have respectful dialogue. Where we
some might call it compromise.
It all comes down. You're right. Okay. Yep. That's the ultimate lesson of this episode. Okay, that's it. That's the lesson of the episode. Compromise. That's the end of the episode. Anthony, wow. We did it.
2 years.
2 years.
2 years.
Wow. That's the end of the season finale, the series finale. We have one more Friday Night Lights, Reliving the Lights episode for you all. And then it's going to be the OC. So start getting a hold of that. I don't know where you can watch that.
HBO Max, baby. Yep.
HBO Max. So subscribe to HBO Max, which is the best
streaming service out there for my money.
So you've got a lot to gain by subscribing to that.
Yep. Highly recommend. They're not paying us anything, although we could work on trying to get an HBO Max sponsorship before the OC.
Is that a thing that you've heard from other podcasts?
Nope. Just saying we can try.
We can try. We can always try. So go check out the OC. We will have a finale episode coming up. If you are a dedicated listener, and would like to be on that show, maybe reach out. I don't know.
Let
Do I
us
want
know.
to keep that
Yeah.
in there? I don't know.
Yeah.
But-
For what it's worth, the OC is also on Hulu. So you've got
Oh man.
2 different places that you could watch the OC: Hulu or HBO Max, or if you're like me and you've got the DVDs.
Yeah, you don't need any of that. I think we will probably at minimum end up posting the first episode of the OC podcast on this feed. Maybe we'll consolidate feeds. We still got to figure that out.
We got to figure that out. Yeah, what our branding is. If there's any marketing or advertising folks out there, my degree is in advertising with a minor in marketing, but I actually don't know what I'm doing. So if you've got any advice for us that you'd like to throw our way about how to either rebrand or turn this into a, whatever, turn it into a, because once we get done with the OC, who knows, we might want to move on to something else.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we, might just turn into Anthony and Josh watch shows, which is not a very catchy name. So if you have a better idea for us to turn this into, because we've already got you. If you're listening to this episode, you are our audience.
Right.
And we'd like to retain that audience.
Yes.
But we also, there's got to be a way to do it. We just don't know what it is.
Yep. Any ideas we welcome. So that's it for this week of Reliving the Lights. We've got one more. Thanks for being with us this far. Hopefully you can persevere one more episode. Anthony, always a pleasure, sir.
Yes. Before we sign off, there's been something that's really been weighing on me that I'd really like to say.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Second to last episode, I think I better just say it.
Go ahead.
I've gotten political on this show. I've gotten philosophical on this show. I've gotten theological on this show. I've said a lot of things. So, if I've already offended you, you're probably not listening. So I'm just going to go ahead and say
Just
it.
lay it out there, man.
Shout out to our listeners in Laos.
God, yes. Thank you.
It felt good to say. It felt good to say.
And you know what? That's inspiring me right now.
You got something else?
I debated, but you've inspired me. Shout out to our listeners in the West Indies.
You know what? I didn't think I was brave enough to say it, so I'm so glad that you said it and you took those words right out of my mouth and you took them from my heart.
Yep.
Out into the ether.
While we're at it, Niall, we're sorry.
We are. We hope you come back. We hope we want to have you, man. Come on the show.
100%. Okay. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you next week for another episode of Reliving the Lights, Friday Night Lights Rewatch podcast.
The actual final episode.
Let's touch God this time, boys. Let's touch God.